Half off select HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams primer and ceiling paint. Plus, get free same-day delivery to your job site when you order by 2 p.m. Offer valid through 6/13. Delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Additional terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Was drafted in 1999 by the Philadelphia 76ers, and that was just absolutely a dream come true.
Todd's playing in the NBA is unique. His battle with neuropathy is not.
I first started noticing problems a couple of years into my NBA career, and I felt like my sock was just balled up right in the arch of my foot, and there'd be areas of burning and tingling, and then there'd be other areas of deadness where there would be no response to touch. We tried everything possible, from surgery to different drugs, to try and take care of some of the symptoms.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. Our neuropathy treatments can rehabilitate damaged nerves. We use FDA-cleared, non-surgical, non-drug, pain-free procedures that have helped thousands of neuropathy sufferers find relief.
Now I'm able to spend more time doing the things that I enjoy, being on my feet.
If you experience numbness, shooting, or burning pains, or loss of balance, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025, or click soundpainsolutions.com.
Charlie Harger here. When your hot turns to cold, you better think fast. Fast water heater. Call 1-800-THINK-FAST. That's 1-800-THINK-FAST or fastwaterheater.com.
You better think fast. Fast water heater.
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio, KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle, Northwest News. This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Steve Kathan. President Trump talks with China's President Xi in the midst of their tariff battle.
We had a very good talk, and we've straightened out any complexity. It's very complex stuff, and we straighten it out.
CBS's Olivia Rinaldi at the White House.
Trump said the call lasted about an hour and a half. He said it was very good. He said that the U.S. teams led by Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, and the U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer will meet soon with their Chinese counterparts. Trump also said there should no longer be any questions regarding the complexity of rare earth products. As we know, that was something, a bit of a hang-up.
And moments ago in the Oval Office, President Trump was asked about his crackdown on foreign students studying in this country.
We want to have foreign students, but we want them to be checked. You know, in the case of Harvard and Columbia and others, all we want to do is see their list.
The U.S. Supreme Court has made it easier to bring lawsuits over what's come to be known as reverse discrimination. CBS's Michael Wallace has more on the case.
Marlene Ames had worked for the Ohio Department of Youth Services for 30 years when she applied for a promotion. The job went to a gay person. Then she was demoted and replaced by another gay person.
They put a 25-year-old man with less than 3 years of service to do my job.
Ames' salary was cut in half.
It was humiliating going to work every day.
The justices ruled unanimously that civil rights law draws no distinction between members of majority or minority groups.
And the court ruling will impact lawsuits in 20 states and the District of Columbia. And in a second unanimous decision, the court also tossed out a $10 billion lawsuit brought by Mexico against U.S. gun makers. Legal analyst Jessica Levinson.
The court just said it's all too distant. You can't tie what the gun manufacturers do to the violence in Mexico in a way that under this statute is fair to impose liability on them.
A federal judge has ruled AmeriCorps has to restore grant funding and service workers to states that sued over cutbacks. Now to the Middle East. CBS's Robert Berger in Jerusalem has more on new developments today in Gaza.
Israeli forces recovered the bodies of 2 Israeli-American hostages in a special operation in Gaza. The army says Judy Weinstein and Gad Haggai were killed by Palestinian gunmen at their kibbutz on October 7th, and their bodies were taken to Gaza.
Checking Wall Street, right now the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up about 145 points. NASDAQ is up 140 and the S&P is up 26. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
New insight on the military service of the man accused of killing his daughters. That's coming up, but first from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. In Seattle, a crash is blocking a lane on I-5 southbound near Union Street. You're solid back to green light, but bigger problems northbound at Albro on I-5, where there's something on the shoulder there. Your travel time, Federal Way into Seattle, an hour and 7 minutes. That's 10 longer than usual. Everett to Seattle is also running about 10 minutes late. Renton to Bellevue is on time at 47 minutes. Traffic brought to you by FlySeaportAir.com, introducing convenient flights between Boeing Field and Portland on Seaport Airlines. Visit FlySeaportAir.com.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and MyNorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch.
Please turn yourself in. Let's wrap this up and do what's right for your kids.
Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison pleading with 32-year-old Travis Decker to turn himself in. Decker accused of murdering his 3 young daughters. KIRO 7 TV's Brandon Thompson is in central Washington where the search is intense.
They are using helicopters from other agencies across Washington and other aircraft to search for Travis Decker. They are focusing on the mountains outside of Leavenworth near where the girls' remains were found outside of Decker's truck on Monday night.
Police say Decker has extensive military training and can survive in the wild for some time. KIRO 7 TV's Samantha Lomibow spoke with a man who knew Decker.
You know, someone who served with him, and seeing the news, what was your initial reaction?
I was shocked and, to be honest, heartbroken.
The man on the phone is a ranger who served with Decker in the Army. He told me what Decker was like for those few years.
Strong personality, stubbornness. I'm a ranger. I'm the best. I'm the top.
He's not specifically speaking on Decker's case, but he says soldiers often compartmentalize their feelings, possibly leading to mental health struggles later on.
Decker's wife has said he suffered from mental health problems, but it's unclear what, if any, role his time in the military contributed to that. A Snohomish County jury has found a driver guilty in the death of Washington State Trooper Christopher Gadd. Prosecutors argued Raul Benitez Santana was speeding after drinking and smoking pot when he crashed into Gadd's patrol car yesterday.
His perception of the danger has been blunted by the chemicals that he has consumed.
Defense attorneys argued Gadd's patrol car parked on the shoulder was difficult to see. The jury didn't buy it. A search and rescue team from Naval Air Station Whidbey Island is credited with plucking 2 climbers off Mount Baker after they became stranded. The 2 slipped and fell while trying to summit the north face of the mountain earlier this week. First responders turn out to be true feathered friends.
An off-duty animal control officer in Mukilteo found an injured bald eagle on the road. Mukilteo police say she drove it in her own car to the station before rushing it to the Paws Wildlife Center. Baldy is now rehabbing nearby in Martha Lake, a hearty caw-caw for Engine 21 of South County Fire Department. They found a crow with a broken wing. Firefighters stabilized the Corvus in a soft box with trail mix before transport to Paws. For the birds, Scott Carty, KIRO News Radio.
This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Mostly sunny skies today with highs in the mid-70s. It's 59 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
Well, good morning. How are you? We are so glad that you're with us, listening to the Gee and Ursula Show. I'm Angela Poe Russell, helping fill in along with Mike Lewis, filling in for Gee and Ursula today. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty well and doing pretty well. It's Friday's Eve, as I like to call it. It is Thursday, right?
It is Thursday.
You start to lose track sometimes. Nick, how are you? What kind of musical mood are you in?
I don't know. Pre-Funk Friday, we'll call it.
All right. Okay, I like it. All right, see if we can inspire some things. Chef, thank you so much for all you've done to get the show together.
You just blew my mind, actually, because I thought today was Wednesday. You just gave me a day.
See? Oh, you are
off
welcome.
to a good start.
You are welcome.
Well, or she took a day away, depending on the way you look at it. Depending on what you had to get done this week.
All right, let's try to live on the happy side of the street, Mike. All right, well, looking forward to the
talk radio. That side of the street is already occupied.
Fair enough. Well, look, you are part of the show. Feel free to text us. 888-973-5476. 888-973-5476. Let's get to Ursula's top 5 stories. The mother mother of the 3 young girls murdered by their father is advocating for systemic changes. Whitney Decker is understandably asking for privacy at this time, but through her attorney had a lot to say. Attorney Ariana Cozart says Whitney wants to increase funding and accessibility of mental health care for veterans. She believes his untreated PTSD and borderline personality disorder led to a mental health crisis that cost her daughters their lives. Decker had reportedly reached out to the VA and veterans crisis lines, but got no consistent help. Travis Decker's father had this to say to KIRO 7's L. Thomas.
He told us his son's mental struggles started after a tour in Afghanistan. The Washington National Guard told us he technically is still a member, but he's been absent from drills and required trainings. In court documents around his kids and separation, his wife stated Decker's mental health took even more of a hit as he became homeless.
And that was, again, KIRO 7's L. Thomas talking about what his father had to say. Whitney also wants to revise the threshold for issuing an Amber Alert. Her attorney said Decker's, again, declining mental health, out of character behavior, and not returning the girls as planned should have been considered enough of a threat to issue the Amber Alert. It is not clear if authorities had this info at the time, but according to KIRO 7, last September, Whitney filed court documents seeking to modify the parenting plan, citing his long-term emotional or physical problems that gets in the way of his ability to parent, end quote. She requested evaluations for anger management and domestic violence, as well as a full psychiatric assessment. These evaluations were not completed, and there is no record of court-ordered restrictions or protective orders against him. You know, it's been so soon, Mike, since all of this happened, and the fact that she's speaking out through her attorney saying, hey, this is a problem. Like, I've been trying to raise my hand on these issues. And so I just find it, I guess I don't have the words for it, except that she is using this time to speak out while she's grieving.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to have the presence of mind to even be able to do that, right?
Yes.
Given what she's going through. I also think that the Washington State Patrol is going to get heat, is getting heat and going to get more as a result of the decision. I don't think that the decision is with if they had the full body of knowledge, you could make an argument about that. I don't know that they did. We'll find out about that hopefully at some point in the future. I do think that you can also understand their rationale. Like, you need to have a high threshold. If you issue Amber Alerts all the time, people stop even hearing and listening to the Amber Alert.
Yes.
And so you have to sort of protect that threshold to make the Amber Alert actually super effective. But I think it's spoken about here, but the uninvestigated component here is when she asked for this sort of intervention is it the Department of Veterans Affairs that did nothing? And that is not a problem just here. That is a problem across the country with the Department of Veterans Affairs. And it's like amazing. I know a guy who literally his only job, he just retired 2 years ago. His only job was to help veterans sort out the enormous bureaucracy of trying to get medical care through and that's part of the contract. Right. That is what they are guaranteed. And the fact that she tried to get this sort of and nothing ever happened. I mean, like I said, I understand the Washington State Patrol is going to get some heat from this. Maybe it's not justified. Maybe it is. I don't know. We don't know enough at this point. The Department of Veterans Affairs 100% should be getting a lot of heat from this, because that is someone who literally their family reached out.
And you know what? I think the way that was written wasn't clear. It sounds like Travis Decker reached out. And Chef, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the way it was written, because it made it sound like it was her. But if I'm misunderstanding it, please tell me.
No. You may have it entirely correct. It was a little convoluted through the story. But even if he reached out,
it doesn't change.
It doesn't change a whole lot.
It doesn't change it if you serve and put yourself in the line of fire, or serve in any capacity. When
this
you go to get health
care,
care,
top priority.
It should absolutely.
100%.
And I think this is right on.
I mean, we're so happy to honor veterans in a variety of ways, from boarding a plane. I agree with 100% of that. Doesn't bother me at all. Why not, though, maybe focus a little bit on what the actual contract with the actual guarantee is? And if you are a veteran and trust me, I've talked to my friend who does this sort of work.
Right.
He said it is appalling. Like, the people who need help who cannot get help.
Yes. The other piece of this, and I'm with you, the Amber Alert, when I was looking at what it takes and all the criteria, 2 of them are subjective. I mean,
Entirely.
the one that's reasonable belief by law enforcement that an abduction has occurred. Law enforcement believes the child is in imminent danger of, like, some of that is really subjective based on the information that you have. So for me,
Completely.
that is a bit more of a subjective call. Again, I know that people get into this line of work because they want to help people.
Right.
So I'm not going to assume any, I think I have to believe they're doing the best they can, and we have to look at how we can be better. The piece
I agree with
that
you.
I want to focus on is that she sought to modify the parenting plan. And I just have that little bit of information. I don't have a ton more right now, but I know this is a big issue.
Right.
And there is this place I found online. So make sure it's called, let's see, it's like the Center for Excellence and Justice. I believe that's the name of it. And they started tracking the number of kids who were killed, by a parent and related to these custody things. It's been like 1,000 kids since 2008. And what I thought was most interesting is that 137 of them could have been prevented, meaning that a parent did seek some type of revision in the plan. And part of what's driving the problem, there are 2 things as I see it, Mike. There is a reluctance, I think, for the family court system to believe a parent when they say there's a problem which leads to my second point, because there are so many false complaints.
Right.
I don't know if you have ever known someone going through a divorce, but the accusations that get thrown around that are in some cases completely false, and they're just there to be vindictive.
Right.
It takes away from the people who are raising a serious issue.
Right. And
so
also,
we need to knock it off.
And that's
on
a
that
divorce
sense.
without kids. With kids, that ramps up, 10 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
Completely. Yeah.
And
you're totally
so it
right.
creates this noise that when people do have a legitimate issue, there is a reluctance to believe them and to lean on the side of parental rights.
I completely agree. I mean, how many people have called and said, I think my husband has kidnapped the children because they were 2 hours late dropping the kids off. I'm struggling to understand why we're trying to find a villain in this story other than Travis Decker. Sometimes the villain is just the villain, right? We are plagued with systemic failures of systems at all levels of society in our nation, right? You want to talk about lack of access to mental health care? Speak with a parent of a teenager who needs a bed for a mental health crisis. You can't find one. If you need to go see a psychiatrist, just went through this with my son, 3-month wait. I'm sure he faced hurdles at the VA. I'm sure that there were process issues within family court. But the simple fact is, like, if you look at what Chris Loftus from the State Patrol said, he says, in this case, we had a parent with custodial responsibilities and privileges that was late returning the children, and we did not have direct threat or direct reason to believe the children were in danger. Of course, we know it's different in hindsight, but just look at the facts, like, from the outside and say, okay, dude has been erratic, right? We know he has some kind of PTSD issues. He sought mental health treatment. He failed to get a mental health evaluation. But that's not completely abnormal for someone who's going through a divorce, for someone who has lost their housing.
Wages had been garnished.
Right, exactly. I mean, of course, it's under an immense amount of pressure. And the mom, in her own legal statements, expresses a lot of desire for the children to be able to continue to see their father, albeit with restrictions, like not overnight, because she wasn't comfortable with the sleeping arrangements that he had at the armory. This is a Travis Decker problem. Because if we want to point out every systemic failure in this particular story, boy, we can find a dozen of them for every kid that is in juvenile detention, for every adult that is in incarceration, for every student that drops out of high school in this country. And we can't pick and choose when we decide to get outraged just because it leads to the worst possible outcome. What we can do is vote to actually support the programs and reform the programs that exist. But I don't see any villain here other than Travis.
Yeah. I think you make such a great point. When people are grieving, I mean, it's like you need to find the why. You need to find, and so you look at all these things. And at the same time, I still raise my hand and find value in saying, and doing an analysis of how we can serve kids better. And I think in this case, all these things that we've said are true. Fair enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's go to our next top story. Okay, Seattle School Board once again pondering whether to put school resource officers back on campus. The Seattle Times was there as more than a dozen people spoke out against having police back in schools, saying it fosters an environment of fear. Meanwhile, at Garfield, where 1 year ago a student, Amar Murphy Payne, was shot and killed while simply trying to break up a fight, the tone's a little different. The Seattle School District surveyed Garfield students and families about the proposal. 46% of respondents reported they felt safer with a police officer stationed outside the school. 37% said they did not feel safer. 17% not sure. Now, when it came to officers inside the school, 61% of students expressed they were comfortable or very comfortable with the idea. 46% saying that having an officer inside would enhance their sense of safety. Tomorrow, on National Gun Violence Awareness Day, students are planning a walkout to call for changes. Mike, it is not surprising that this debate is coming up. Amar Murphy Payne's family suing the Seattle School District, saying you did not do enough to keep students like our son safe.
I think that I would not worry so much with the Seattle School District about the notion that the law enforcement would make kids feel unsafe. I think I would worry on the other end of the equation. I don't see how. If kids are feeling safe because unsafe because an officer is around, then they need to address how that officer is interacting with the students.
Yes.
They don't need to sort of eliminate the whole idea. If there are schools, if we have problems in schools that we did not have when I was in high school, back in the ancient times, and so if this is something where we are in society, and again, you can make all kinds of larger discussions about why we're here, but the fact is we are here, and if we're here. And we can afford this, and it can be implemented in a way that is fair to students and fair to parents and fair to teachers. I don't see why I would spend 15 minutes worried about the way the students who feel unsafe with an officer around are going to feel safe is when they have a positive interaction with an officer.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what happens. And so make it super simple and do that, and then see how it goes, because I don't know. The parents at Garfield, I think, raise very, very good points. And maybe we don't know, but maybe you prevent a couple of those incidents, the tragic ones, and certainly at Garfield if you do have a police officer on campus. And so I don't know about the pushback on it. I mean, I understand that there is not the history of the Seattle Police Department and some communities in this city is not perfect. But I would say that the way to make it better is to increase the level of interaction, the level of casual interaction. That is what's going to make kids feel a little bit safer if they initially have a reflexive reaction to a cop.
Yeah, it feels like a significant overcorrection. And, the thing that ruffles my feathers on these stories, it kind of takes me back to the Black Lives Matter movement and how it was hijacked by people who, I don't even know you. And when I say hijacked, meaning you start asking for things that I'm not asking for.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. So there are some people who don't go to Garfield, and they're at the meeting saying, we don't want this. It creates fear and does this and does this. And I'm like, let's look at what Garfield has experienced. Okay. 23-24, 2 students shot. March of 2024, outside the school, student shot in the leg. I mean, I saw a video just a few months ago of a fight at the school, and this poor teacher is trying to manage it. I was like, God bless you. Right. Because if you have a resource officer there, you can call them in, come over. We are asking a lot. So don't come from and I'm not saying that these students haven't had issues at their school, but this has been a hotbed. And I think these are the voices we should be listening to most, the ones who are in it, the ones who are experiencing it. Yeah. Don't come from your, perfect little neighborhood and tell me what you think is right because of your social justice cause. I need you to come talk to me. It's not perfect. We do know from research that when in some of these schools, they have disproportionately targeted certain communities. Absolutely. Let's do it better. Let's not get rid of them.
I completely agree.
And we're out of time. We've done it again. I feel like Britney Spears. Oops, we did it again. We did not get to our full top 5. Chef, my apologies.
It's all good. It happens all the time.
But you know what? We're going to make sure that we get to them a little bit later in the show. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Coming up in the 9:30 hour. Okay, this is an agree to disagree early. Should a white woman be allowed to play Harriet Tubman, the woman who ran the Underground Railroad and helped slaves escape? Should a white woman be able to play that role? That's going to be the question. We'll tell you about this story. It is so fascinating. You're listening to the Gee and Ursula Show. Back in a few minutes.
You never know what's in store each morning once you hit the road.
We've got a major traffic alert in effect right now.
While you're getting ready every morning, make us part of your routine.
What morning, huh?
Yeah. Got off to an early start.
Just tell your smart speaker to play KIRO Newsradio or stream us on the app.
Both directions of I-5 are closed.
We'll help you get where you're going faster.
Maybe bail at 512.
KIRO Newsradio. We're on your smart speaker, the app, and 97.3 FM.
Have you heard the saying, chuck in a truck? The guy running a roofing company out of his messy pickup? Well, here's the scary part. Washington doesn't require a test or experience to be a licensed roofer, and they definitely don't require a brick and mortar location. Chuck could be working out of his apartment with 0 employees, hiring random guys off the street. Yikes. And the SBA says 90% of roofers are out of business within 5 years. Jim here, Chief Roof Nerd at RoofSmart, where we do things right. We have a real location on Central Avenue in Kent and a team of 50 full-time roofing pros who actually know what they're doing. We're not some fly-by-night outfit. We've put down roots, or in our case, a cement foundation, so you'll always know where to find us. No disappearing acts, no cut corners, just top-quality work from people you can trust. That's RoofSmart. Come see for yourself, or call us at 206-487-4877, or visit us online at getroofsmart.com. That's 206-487-4877 or getroofsmart.com.
Hi, it's John Curley. Longevity Medical Clinic is your best plan for long-term well-being and personalized health care. Dr. Mixon, let me ask you a question. How long have some of your patients been working with you?
We've got patients now that have been with us for over 20 years that are in their 90s who came to us in their 60s. The grandparents now in their 90s are living independently. They're not on walkers, they're not on canes, they're not headed for nursing homes.
I meet people and they ask about, wow, you're in great shape. You have 12% body fat and stuff. What's the secret? I said, it's not a secret. Longevity Medical Clinic has been there for 25 years. There is no secret to the fact that if you make those small changes, you avoid the big, bad, horrible stuff that most of us just think, well, this is what's supposed to happen to me.
And if you're heading downhill and you don't change your direction, you're going to continue going downhill. And what we do at Longevity is we redirect you and we take you back up the hill.
So get your free health analysis. Go to longevitymedicalclinic.com. That's longevitymedicalclinic.com.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
We're here with our friend Steve Teitler of Best Mortgage, the reverse mortgage expert. Steve, mortgage rates have been dropping this year. How could that help seniors struggling to stay in their homes?
Lower mortgage rates mean seniors can now get more money from their equity with a reverse mortgage. You can pay off your existing mortgage, have extra money to help with today's high cost of living, or believe it or not, you can even buy a home with a reverse mortgage. There are many uses, and best of all, you have no mortgage payments the rest of your life.
But as you always say, a reverse mortgage is not for everyone.
That's right. Avoid the high-pressure sales pitch from those out-of-state call centers. I give you a consultation, not a sales pitch. I'll tell you if a reverse mortgage is right for you, and I always tell you if it's not.
Honest advice you can trust from the reverse mortgage experts. Best Mortgage, the VA loan experts and debt consolidation specialists too. 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
Discover one of the new inventions in home comfort with mini split systems from Home Comfort Alliance. Call now for a free consultation and get 18 months same as cash financing. Visit homecomfortalliance.com today.
At Les Schwab, we've been changing the tire game for more than 70 years. Our Go the Extra Mile service means more hustle, less hassle. We design our own exclusive tires to give you more tires made for the road you drive, less compromise. All backed by America's best tire warranty included with every tire we sell. We're talking more unbeatable tire warranty, less charging you extra, like the other guys. It's why you get more from less. Book an appointment at leschwab.com.
Business leaders know to solve a problem, you gotta look at it in a new way. Like travel between Seattle and Portland. Why is it such a pain? I-5 traffic, TSA slowdowns, SeaTac hassles. Seaport removes those pain points. We fly out of Boeing Field and a private terminal at PDX. You park for free, steps away from your plane. And with flights every 45 minutes, you're always home for dinner. Problem solved. Seaport Airlines. It's about time.
Hi, I'm Keith Dashafee, owner of Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. We're celebrating 100 years of Pella excellence with an offer as strong as our legacy. Get $100 off every window, $100 off every door, and enjoy 100 days with no interest and no payments. It's our way of saying thank you for letting us be a part of your homes for a century. Visit PellaPNW.com to schedule your free consultation today. Pella, 100 years strong.
G. Scott here with former Seahawks Cliff Averill and Doug Baldwin. I heard you guys are having a celebrity pickleball tournament to raise money for Nourishing Champions. Why pickleball?
Obviously, it's a growing sport, but also this model is that we will actually be playing with community.
We are the most competitive people, so regardless of how sorry Doug might be, he will be out there competing like it's a Super Bowl.
Sign up for the Celebrity Pickleball Tournament, open to all skill levels. For details, go to championsofchangefoundation.org/pickleball.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch. The U.S. Supreme Court makes it easier to sue over so-called reverse discrimination. CBS's Jan Crawford reports the High Court considered the case of an Ohio woman.
She put in for promotion, and she was passed over for that. Then she got demoted. Well, the people that got those jobs were both gay and she's straight. She said that's discrimination. So she sued, and the courts threw out her claim because they said she had to jump through an extra hoop as a straight woman.
The Supreme Court ruled she does not have to meet a higher standard and her case can proceed. The nation's highest court also ruled on a gun case, saying a law that allowed Mexico to sue U.S. gun makers over violence in Mexico is invalid. Legal expert Jessica Levinson explains.
This is not a Second Amendment decision. Of course, it deals with gun manufacturers, but this is really a question of whether or not under this federal law you could have liability for U.S. gun manufacturers.
Newly released journal entries shed light on Luigi Mangione's plans to allegedly gun down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. CBS's Lilia Luciano.
Prosecutors allege Mangione wrote, quote, 1.5 months. The investor conference is a true windfall. It embodies everything wrong with our health system.
Thompson faces both federal and state murder charges. The search continues for the man accused of murdering his 3 daughters in central Washington. KIRO 7 TV's Gary Horker says we're learning more from Travis Decker's father about his son's mental state.
According to Travis Decker's father, Travis had more recent mental health struggles, which can be traced, he says, directly to an Army tour in Afghanistan. KIRO 7 has not been able to independently confirm these details from his service from the Department of Defense, but we do know from Decker's fellow soldiers he was able to complete Army Ranger selection at JBLM, and he was deployed to parts of Europe with paratrooper skills.
The Washington National Guard says Decker is technically still a member, but missed all of his drills over the past year. The search is on for a patient who escaped from Western State Hospital. Lakewood Police Sergeant Charles Porsche.
I don't believe from the information I've got that he is a danger to anybody else. His stay at Western has been very peaceful.
Porsche says the man does have a criminal past, including assaults, but again, he is not believed to be a danger to the public. He's been at Western State for about 2 years. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 117 points, NASDAQ ahead 85. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk in Seattle, a crash is blocking a lane on I-5 southbound near Union Street. You're solid still back to about the University District. You're struggling to get into the city northbound due to a crash on the shoulder northbound at Aldborough on I-5. Travel time Federal Way to Seattle is about an hour, still about 10 minutes longer than this time of day. Everett to Seattle, also about 10 minutes longer, Renton to Bellevue 5. Traffic brought to you by Beacon Plumbing. For all your heating, electrical, septic, and mechanical needs, stop freaking call Beacon. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Mostly sunny today with highs in the mid-70s. It's 59 in downtown Seattle. I'm Hila Bosch.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio Northwest News.
Welcome back to the Gee and Ursula Show. Angela Poe Russell here, Mike Lewis here. Interesting story out of Southern California regarding who should be able to play a historical figure and do they need to match who they are playing racially? Should a woman who wrote a one-woman show portraying historical figures, should she be able to portray Harriet Tubman? Is a source of a lawsuit down there.
Yes, I'll tell you more about it. Her name is Annette Hubble. She is a performer and playwright in San Diego. She says she was invited by the Rancho Santa Fe Library to perform her historical showcase for Women's History Month in 2024. Her act features prominent women from history, some black, some white, and she performs them all herself. Among the options she submitted were abolitionist Harriet Beecher Stowe, educator and civil rights icon Mary McLeod Bethune, and freedom fighter Harriet Tubman. The library initially approved all 3, but just weeks before the performance, Hubble says library officials told her to cut both Bethune and Tubman because she's white.
And I said, why? And they said, she said, because it's not appropriate for you to be doing this. You're a white woman. And I said, oh, no. You don't understand. I'm honoring these women. And she said, that doesn't matter. And I said, you mean I'm only to perform women whose stories of bravery and courage that should be told if they're white? And she said, that's pretty much it. So I'm not getting it. So I said, well, tell me how this is different from the Hamilton play.
In Hamilton, non-white actors portray his white historical figures. After hearing about her situation, the Pacific Legal Foundation reached out to Hubble and convinced her to file suit.
And they called me and said, this is horrific. I think that was the very word that Chris used. We need to do something about this.
Hubble says he convinced her to sue.
If these women that I portray fought against such injustice and such egregious wrongdoings in their lives, who am I to stop at fighting this?
Pacific Legal has filed lawsuits to stop implicit bias training, race quotas for licensing boards, programs meant to close racial opportunity gaps, and more. This is a big question, Mike. How are you grappling with it?
Well, I don't know. I think if she is, I don't like her comparison of the strife she is having with the strife of the people she is portraying.
Yes.
I'm not sure that's a bridge that can be safely built between those two things. So setting that aside, it's a one-person library performance. I think if she wants to portray someone of a different race, I really don't mind that. If she wrote the show and she's the one they hired, have photos or renderings or paintings of who the actual characters are up so everyone knows what they look like. Address it and explain it and then just go into your characterizations. I mean, my assumption is that she is genuinely trying to honor women, and it's a shame that she's gotten roped in with the Pacific Legal Foundation, which, has a pretty mixed history on some of the stuff it has supported. People who, on the other end, would certainly say that about the ACLU. I think that they picked an unfortunate fight. They could have asked for her to frame it differently on stage if there is some sort of doubt as to who she is portraying and how she's portraying it. And then just go ahead with it. I don't know that I agree with the Hamilton comparison at all. Yes. But I do understand what she is saying, and it seems that there is space between where she's at and where the library is at that actually is workable space.
Yeah, when you flip the race of the person, it can actually be kind of powerful and enable you to see something differently because you're looking at a white person say these things.
Completely.
The thing, so I would have
It's been done with Shakespeare for forever in the theater. Right?
I would let her go through with the performance. What I disagree with is how she's going about it. Filing a lawsuit. I don't think these people would want her to do that. While, like I said, I don't agree with the way she was treated in this case. In the future, the library could have just said, hey, in the future, when you hire the next person, hire a black person to do a certain kind of show if that's what they want to do.
Because the history of this is frequently, from going back to John Wayne portraying Genghis Khan, there is a long history in film and television and on stage. Yul Brynner, as a famous play, he's portraying a Chinese leader. These sort of things were endemic in the non-American Indian actors portray all of that was so pervasive for so many years in theater and in television and in film that I understand the desire to sort of align that. Why wouldn't you hire a perfectly capable African American actor to portray an African American figure? But this is at such a moderate level. In that it's a one-person show for a library, it seems like you could have framed this a little bit differently and not ended up as a lawsuit.
Right, but this is asking a bigger question, right? How do we feel about if we're talking about a historical person, how do you feel about a white person portraying, let's say, an Asian individual? Or how do you feel about Hispanic person playing someone who was white? I mean, Chef, you were looking like you wanted to weigh in on this, but...
Well, I don't really see the issue here. Harriet Tubman, for me, okay, that'd be an interesting thought experiment to see the woman's show. But more broadly speaking, Harriet Tubman's skin color was utterly central to her identity and the way that she interacted in the world. And if you want to do an imagination scenario, that's fine. You can imagine it another way. But people get really, really upset about this kind of stuff. I'll point to The Little Mermaid, where Ariel was played by a black character, right? And people are like, oh my gosh, how dare you change the race? That is a work of fantasy by itself. Or, many characters in books. This happens all the time. Like Rue in the Hunger Games. She was described in the book as being dark, but people thought that her race was swapped. We tend to imagine in our minds fictional characters, a race for those people. When it comes to a real life scenario, I don't know, just go with reality. It makes no sense. I'm not losing anything as a white guy because a white lady isn't being allowed to play Harriet Tubman. How many times have we gone to a Chinese restaurant and all the staff is Asian? Does that mean that there's some sort of reverse discrimination going on there? How many women get hired at Hooters who are not attractive, or Joey's? This happens all of the time.
Yeah, and there, believe it or not, I was looking at this one op-ed from a black writer just saying that she actually took issue with them making the Little Mermaid black, hiring an actress. I think, first of all, Halle Bailey was amazing in that role. I loved it. But she said there are so many other stories that you could tell, and all that does is sow division versus moving us forward. And so I feel like this is needs a much longer discussion on a different day, because I feel like there's so many areas to this, especially when it comes to who writes the stories. And if you say we want race, let's say, to not be, the thing is, I don't think we can ignore race. I think it's there. But if we say we want to be inclusive and discriminate, how do you manage that?
Yeah, I agree. It should be a longer. I mean, I could sort of get into additional thoughts here, but probably not enough time to do so.
Yeah. All right. Feel free to text us, and we'll make sure we have this discussion again. 888-973-5476. What's coming up next?
All right. Coming up next is should young men learn behavioral rules that are a little more traditional? I think that would be a good way to put it, and seem to have fallen out of favor. That'll be right after the break.
KIRO News Radio is right there with you.
A big story developing this morning
on your smart speaker before you head out the door.
Get the latest live from KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey.
Huge impacts for Boeing and Boeing workers.
The office, the gym, anywhere.
Water, like taxes, goes all the way down to the bottom, so it'll either come out of the employee's paycheck or the lack of raise.
KIRO News Radio. We're on YouTube, our app, your smart speaker, and 97.3 FM.
Hi, Chad Cicchini, owner of Heritage Homecraft. You may have known us for our unique cabinet refacing projects, but I'd like to introduce our full bathroom remodeling service. New tub, shower, floors, counters, and of course, cabinetry. Same commitment to quality and value, same full service, just another way to serve the folks of Puget Sound. Call today for a free in-home consultation. Heritage Homecraft, 425-485-1600, 425-485-1600, or heritagehomecraft.com.
At Dunn, relationships are everything. It's why we build a culture around building the best relationships possible, building joy and trust, one interaction at a time. So whether you need trusted advice, help with material selection, project planning, or loading your vehicle, we go the extra mile to remove as much of the hassle as we can. If there's anything we can do to serve you better, contact me personally. Mike Dunn at dunlumber.com.
Dunn Lumber, building success together. Guys, tired all the time? Gaining weight? Low drive? These aren't just signs of aging. They could be low testosterone or other underlying issues. This June, for Men's Health Month, Revive Men's Health in Seattle is offering a free comprehensive wellness panel, a $400 value. It checks your testosterone, blood sugar, cholesterol, kidney, liver, thyroid, and heart health. No guessing, just answers. Over 100,000 men have trusted Revive to get real results. More energy, better sleep, improved mood, and confidence that shows. If something feels off, don't wait. Take control and protect your long-term health by knowing your numbers. This offer ends June 30th. Schedule your free comprehensive wellness panel today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com. Feel better, live stronger. Start now.
I saw her texting, coming up to a stop sign. And so I saw the accident coming, and she T-boned us.
In the blink of an eye, Crystal's life changed when she suffered a severe spinal injury.
The pain was something I had never experienced before in my neck. I got massage therapy. I saw a chiropractor. I was prescribed muscle relaxers so I could sleep. I got depressed. Nothing was relieving the pain.
Drugs, sleepless nights, and depression. Sound familiar? I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist. At Sound Pain Solutions, our treatments include high-dose laser combined with spinal decompression and other comprehensive therapies to rehabilitate damaged discs. We use treatments that are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, drug and pain-free.
I was able to get off my pain medicines, and I was able to sleep through the night, and that was what I was desperate for.
To learn if you're a candidate for our treatment, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025 or click soundpainsolutions.com.
You know what's faster than your paycheck? Literally everything. It's time to get your pay up to speed. With Earnin, you can access your pay as you work instead of waiting days and weeks for a paycheck. Get up to $150 a day with a max of $750 between paydays. No interest, no credit checks, and no mandatory fees. Because, hey, it's your money. Download the Earnin app now to get it and join millions of people making any day payday. That's EARNIN. Earnin is not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors. Available in select states. Expedited transfers available for a fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Gain a global perspective and specialized skills that many of today's top employers are seeking with an MBA from University of Maryland Global Campus. Study online and complete your degree in just 16 months for about $21K. Choose from MBA specializations in global business, marketing, HR, finance, and more. Classes start June 11th. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Your new beginning starts now. D.R. Horton has new construction homes available throughout the greater Seattle area. With spacious floor plans, flexible living spaces, and home technology packages, you can enjoy more cozy moments and sweet memories in your beautiful new home. With new home communities opening throughout the Seattle area, D.R. Horton has the ideal home for you. Visit drhorton.com to learn more. D.R. Horton, America's builder, an equal housing opportunity builder.
Welcome back to the Gee and Ursula Show. Mike Lewis here, Angela Poe Russell. Are young men being raised correctly? This is the question asked in a fairly extensive LinkedIn comment on how young men are greeting the world and maybe how they're not being framed effectively on how to behave.
Yes. Yeah. There's this new after-school program in New Jersey called the Wise Guys Club. And it's going back to the basics of chivalry. And this was from NBC News Daily. We'll let you hear some of this report.
How to have manners while around people. Instead of like going up to like your friends and like giving them a high five, you could like shake their hand instead. We are like a group of gentlemen. We're all like part of a family. I think these guys as like my best friends.
What have we already experienced going through this book?
Seaview second grade teacher Mark Schnepp, Mr. Schnepp, started the Wise Guys Club 15 years ago. It was small in the beginning.
We're now in year, I think, 14 or 15 of this. I bought pizza for the kids. We had saltines with spray cheese. Like I had no idea what I was doing.
The club grew and a second teacher got involved, fourth grade teacher David Wade.
Because I saw what the kids were doing with life skills, I wanted to be a part of that too.
The program culminates with a graduation of sorts.
You made it.
A white tablecloth dinner at a local restaurant. The guests of honor, their moms.
It's just supposed to be like a no-cost opportunity, a no-stress opportunity for the moms to just have a moment with their boys.
I can't wait. That's for like our moms, because like they like always work so hard for us, so we're trying to like give them like a break.
At the door, Mr. Wade gave each Wise Guy a flower for their mom.
This is where Mark and I kind of step back and watch our boys do the work.
And the moms, let's just say they're pretty impressed.
I love everything that they learn throughout the year and how they just teach them to be respectful, etiquette, hygiene, especially hygiene.
Yeah, so I sent this story in because I love this. This used to be the kind of thing you learned at home, and for whatever reason, I don't know what's happening. I would love to hear what you all think, but it just used to be the kind of thing we had. It was part of culture. And I'm glad that someone is stepping up and saying, you know what, let's be a community here and help these boys kind of, become men.
I'm mixed.
Okay.
Honestly. And I'm a person who holds open doors for people, but I hold open doors for men and women. right? I think that you should extend politeness regardless of gender. The same type of politeness, regardless of gender. And I don't think, because remember the roots of chivalry, right? The roots of male chivalry, mostly directed toward women, is women are weaker. So you hold open doors and I get it. Like, I don't think that it comes from a bad place. But if you look at historically the way chivalry worked, chivalry created two kind of subclasses of people, those capable and those less capable. That was the underpinning of it. But if you just have it as something that is, you're polite to people regardless, to your other men, to other young men or other boys, if you're a boy, if you are polite to people older than you, if you're polite to people younger than you, if you do all those same behaviors, regardless of who is on the receiving end of those behaviors, I'm 100% in. But when you start differentiating who gets that treatment, I think that then you start running into some problems.
I just wonder if it's that cultural shift, because you're not alone in these sentiments, if that's what's kind of partially hurt boys in the dynamic. Them
Meaning?
Not having this role of feeling like the protector, the leader, the provider. Are we going against nature by saying, and I'm not saying, to be clear, that you should see the way Mike is, those on YouTube.
That sound you heard is my eyes rolling into the back of my head.
Yeah. Okay, listen, I am all for women's liberation, for the women's rights movement, but there's no but, and the women's rights movement was so that we could have a choice, that if you wanted to go to work and go kill it in corporate America, you could. And if you wanted to stay at home and be traditional, you could do that too.
If you were lucky enough to be offered that choice, correct?
Of course, absolutely. And so I happen to like the dynamic that I have in my relationship, where I do feel like he's a leader, and I do feel very protected, and he does kill the bugs, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
At the same time, we do share in responsibilities. We work and we share cooking and cleaning and that kind of stuff. But
if you had a son who was, let's say, 18 years old and was disinclined to kill the bugs, would you? But your partner, your husband, was willing to do that for both you and whoever else the males are. Would that bother you in any manner?
Yeah, I want my son to open the doors for the women, help them carry things.
Would it bother you if your son opened doors for other men?
It would not bother me, but I would say my focus, I want them to be chivalrous. I do, but I will say this. I have girls, and I have tried to encourage them to do some of the things, to be independent. But I look.
If your girls open doors for a man walking in, would you feel like, well, that's odd?
Probably. But here's what we can't deny. Right. Boys in this country are struggling.
I agree.
I mean, women are outpacing them in college, mental health, high school graduation rates.
This is not the answer to that. It isn't.
I know Chef is hating me. I am.
No,
I am giving a take that has the guy.
Not at all.
I'm a progressive, independent.
The funny thing
woman.
is, you're giving the take I should be giving, and I'm giving the take you should be giving. This is what happened on the show.
What are you gonna do? All
we
right.
have chivalry all wrong, by the way. I might need to do a follow-up and agree to disagree.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Gee and Ursula Show, back in a few.
You listen to Seattle's morning news every morning. What do Charlie and Manda listen to every afternoon?
I absolutely love listening to John Curley because he makes you think, which I love.
John has a real special talent in being able to talk about the topics we care about, but he's always trying to make it fun. You're going, oh, this guy actually gets it.
The John Curley Show, weekdays 3 to 7. Watch The John Curley Show live on YouTube or the KIRO Newsradio App.
Throw down to second base, tagged by JP on the money, and he is out.
Home. Home is your domain, where you know every inch like the back of your hand.
Julio racing back out of the warning track, but he makes the catch, and he flashes to the no-fly zone.
A place that brings out your protective side, and a place you'll always stand up for.
Going, it will fly away.
Because what's inside is the most valuable thing in the world. Your family. Mariners baseball at T-Mobile Park. Welcome home.
Father's Day weekend is coming up, and T-Mobile Park is the perfect place to celebrate. Bring Dad out to a ball game as the Mariners take on the Guardians June 13th through 15th. And on Father's Day, the 15th, the first 10,000 dads 21 plus will score a pair of socks thanks to Muckleshoot Casino Resort. Tickets at mariners.com.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Chuck McDowell here again. Over the years, I've seen way too many timeshare exit companies pop up, take folks' money, and disappear. I just saw an ad from an exit company started by a couple of bozos that used to work for me. My advice, don't hire bozos I'll fire. Want out of your timeshare? I'll send you our free timeshare exit info kit explaining your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free kit. Call 800-995-2929. That's 800-995-2929.
Whatever temperatures this summer brings, your friendly and knowledgeable Bryant dealer is ready to help. Your dealer is committed to achieving a high level of training, and skills are backed by outstanding products from one of the industry's most trusted names, Bryant. So whether you need a quick fix or an entirely new cooling system, your local Bryant dealer will do whatever it takes for your family's comfort.
Schedule an appointment today. For a dealer near you, visit BryantNorthwest.com. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777 or biglou.com.
Cars for Kids, the easy way to donate your car. Donate today and your car can be picked up tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.com or 1-877-CARS4KIDS.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour. Sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. President Trump has reacted a day after Elon Musk urged lawmakers to kill the Trump budget bill.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Trump says he was surprised by the sharp criticism.
Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem. And he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate.
Well, that could affect Musk's Tesla. Musk wrote on social media, whatever, and says he had no advance look at the bill, calling Trump's statements false. CBS's Linda Kenyon reports President Trump spoke today by phone with China's President Xi, calling it a good conversation to straighten some things out.
President Trump also wrote, the conversation was focused almost entirely on trade. Nothing was discussed concerning Russia, Ukraine, or Iran. Although the president says trade was the issue, he did not use the word tariffs, which have been a major focus of his administration, especially when it comes to China.
And Trump said it may be better to let Ukraine and Russia fight for a while before pulling them apart, saying so as he sat next to German Chancellor Merz in the Oval Office. He called for Trump to use his influence.
I told the president before we came in that he is the key person in the world who can really do that now by putting pressure on Russia.
The African nation Chad said today it's suspending the granting of visas to U.S. citizens in response to the Trump move to impose travel bans on people from 12 countries, including Chad. Unanimous ruling of the U.S. Supreme Court siding with an Ohio woman in a reverse discrimination case. She was demoted and had her pay cut, and a less experienced gay man got her job.
The justices said, no, if you're a member of a majority group, if you're straight, if you're white, you don't have to jump through an extra hoop just to have your day in court, just to try to prove your case.
Well, CBS's Jan Crawford says the court also tossed out a lawsuit brought by Mexico against U.S. gun makers, alleging they helped fuel drug cartel violence. Court appearance set for today for Mohammed Soliman, the man charged with a fiery attack last weekend in Boulder, Colorado. CBS's Omar Villafranca says members of his family are also being held by immigration officials.
Soliman and his family, his wife and 5 children, came to the U.S. in 2022 from Egypt on a visa. While here, they made an asylum claim, and DHS says that they have overstayed their visas.
In New York, jurors have begun deliberating in Harvey Weinstein's sex crimes retrial. Wall Street, the Dow is down 30. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive. Protect your auto, home, and business with Progressive and get 24/7 coverage. See if you can save at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
The military service of a triple murder suspect and how it might help him hide. The story coming up, but first from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. In Seattle, a crash is blocking a lane on the I-5 southbound express lanes near Pike Street. It looks like you're also dealing with some heavy volumes out of the north, too. Travel time Everett to Seattle, 54 minutes. That's 20 longer than typical. Earlier problems have slowed your drive northbound into Seattle, but it is improving. Travel time Federal Way to Seattle, 51 minutes, only 5 longer than usual. Renton to Bellevue, 44 minutes, also about 5 longer. Traffic brought to you by Seattle Sports. You can always listen to your favorite local sports content on the FM dial on 97.3 HD2.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch.
I was shocked and, to be honest, heartbroken.
A man who served as an Army Ranger with Travis Decker, who's accused of killing his daughters at a campground near Leavenworth. There's concern Decker's military training and survival skills may make it more difficult to find him. The latest on the search from KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey.
If Travis Decker escaped into the wilderness, investigators are working with survivalists and behavioral analysts with the FBI to anticipate his next moves. An Army Ranger who may have undergone mountain survival training, Decker spent months at a time in the wilderness by himself for fun and often hid caches of food and other supplies. Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison told News Nation they will find him.
And to see a cowardly act like this where he would take the life of his own children is just disgusting. It's cowardice.
Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
A verdict is in the trial of the driver accused of killing a Washington State Patrol trooper in Marysville last year. KIRO's 7 TV's Madeline Notley reports.
A jury has found Raul Benitez Santana guilty of vehicular homicide and vehicular assault. In closing arguments Wednesday, prosecutors continued to paint Benitez Santana as a reckless driver speeding after drinking and smoking marijuana and driving fully in the shoulder.
He's seeing, if he bothers to look at his speedometer, he's seeing 112.
That shoulder is where he slammed into a WSP cruiser, killing Trooper Christopher Gadd.
Santana is set to be sentenced July 2nd. Bellevue police cracking down on speeders say they clocked one going more than 100 miles per hour in a 35-mile-per-hour zone.
Speed alone is creating a huge risk for a community like Bellevue.
Officer Drew Anderson says cops arrested 8 drivers and wrote 300 speeding tickets last month alone. Thousands of grocery store workers at Washington State Kroger stores are deciding whether they will walk off the job. KIRO 7 TV's Ranjit Sinha is outside the Linwood Event Center where they're voting today.
Many of the workers and the union have been calling for more staffing, higher wages, and health care. Kroger operates Albertsons, Safeway, QFC, and other stores. And we reached out to Kroger, and it says the company is offering a great deal and stated that we remain actively engaged in bargaining with the UFCW 3000 because we believe the best outcomes are achieved at the table, not through disruption.
Workers in Idaho and Oregon are also voting today. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Mostly sunny skies today with highs in the mid-70s. It's 62 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with a KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show.
with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
Good morning to you. Happy Friday's Eve. We have Friday's Eve, then we have Fresh Fridays. I have no idea if either are grammatically correct, but we are going with it. You're listening to the Gee and Ursula Show. I'm Angela Poe Russell, along with Mike Lewis, filling in for Gee and Ursula. Good morning.
Good morning.
We've gotten really some fiery text messages. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's great. Anytime that, the funny thing is the text messages tend to reflect the sort of emphatic nature of our own discussions on things.
Yes, we have some tension, and that's okay. Nick, thank you so much for all you're doing. The music's been great. Chef, thank you for keeping us in line. We have a lot to talk about this morning, so let's get to what's new at 10. And that's my cue. Here we go.
What's new at 10?
Okay, young people flooding into Seattle has dwindled. For years, 20 and 30-somethings drove Seattle's rapid growth, especially during the tech-fueled boom of the 2010s. But new census data suggests the city's not quite the millennial magnet it once was. Gene Balk at the Times pulled this data. From 2013 to 2019, the number of Seattle residents aged 25 to 34 exploded by 35%, adding nearly 50,000 people and making that age group the city's fastest growing. But since 2019, the number has dropped by about 10,000 or 5% as the job market cooled and the cost of living kept climbing. Seattle's tech scene has seen waves of layoffs, and with home prices and rent still sky high, many young adults may be looking elsewhere or aging out. Literally, a chunk of that demographic simply turned 35 and slid into the next age bracket. Interestingly, 35 to 44-year-olds are now the fastest growing group in the city, up 14% since 2019. And the only group to shrink more than young adults, the older folks, Seattleites 55 to 64, probably aging out or moving out. So a couple things I find fascinating, that it's the young people, like in that 25 to 34, that we're seeing the dip, but then those in that range of 35 to 44 coming in. So my take on this is maybe that's who can afford it. I just think it's hard to, back when I first moved here in 2009, it was difficult to get a home, but not like it is now. So I think it's hard to get in the first place.
I think it's hard to get in. I think also one of the things that's not mentioned in this story that I think probably maybe could have been is that there was post-pandemic waves, and even a little bit pre-pandemic waves of tech layoffs. Layoffs tend to affect newer employees and lower-level employees, which also tends to mean that they disproportionately affect younger employees. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you have it was something like 8,000 people locally were laid off from tech jobs, just tech jobs, not other jobs. That I'm not saying I don't know what percentage of that accounts for this 10,000 person decline, but I think that also had a role in the number of young people. And if you're young and you're getting out of college and you have a measure of college debt, which many graduates do, and you can take a job making, maybe a higher salary in Seattle, but you quickly do the math and you realize that higher salary is consumed by the cost of, dining out, your rent, if you have to also pay for a parking space where you are, whatever, all of those things, that higher salary suddenly becomes a lower salary. And you can go to a smaller city, maybe with a lower paying job, but you spend a lot less money.
And you live a much grander life.
And you might have a chance of renting or even buying a house in another place. I mean, that is going to then take the pressure off Seattle. You're going to watch over the course of it's already flattening. Over the course of the next couple of years, Seattle housing price is going up. Buying a house in Seattle is always going to be difficult, I think, from here for the knowable future. Renting an apartment or renting a house is going to get cheaper over the next 3 years.
Yeah. So here's what's interesting. Realtor.com had a big headline. It just dropped a couple of months ago. And they said what they're seeing is that it's this push to small towns, that it's the highest in a decade in terms of the number of young people who are going to these rural small towns. And let's see. And what's interesting is they say the fact that since 2020, the country's small towns and rural areas have attracted young adults at the highest rate in nearly a century. So in a century, that's how much they're going to it. So Florida and Texas towns, they're a big draw. But they say the biggest draws are places that have great natural amenities. mountains, lakes, like things that just they want to get outdoors and do stuff. And I don't know. I'm just really curious about kind of all the factors that lead to that, other than obviously the cost, but this draw to nature.
We've got a great example right here in Washington State, and that's Bellingham.
Oh, my God.
Bellingham.
I love Bellingham.
Everyone does. And people who go to school there never leave Bellingham. I mean, this is part of the problem because Bellingham's actually, as a result, is so coveted by this group of people that it's getting a lot more expensive than it used to be. But it's got all of the natural beauty. You can be outdoors doing stuff from inside town. You can get on mountain bike trails. I mean, like all of the stuff that people move to the Pacific Northwest for is a highly concentrated distillate right there in Bellingham. And that would be the city that's in Eugene, Oregon, Bend, Oregon, which has become, last time I was in Bend, Oregon was last summer for a big mountain bike race. And I was like, I spent some time going over to the east side. I live in Seattle. I have friends in the east side, so I'm over in the east side. I have never been in a city where I saw more Lamborghinis than Bend, Oregon.
Really?
Because so many wealthy people have bought everything in town. Like there are neighborhoods in Bend, sort of like neighborhoods in Austin, where you feel like every house in this neighborhood is an Airbnb. Like it's all people from other places like that. But all of these towns, so now there's these secondary towns that are getting popular, that kids are moving to, especially when this is the shame about, as an aside, this is the shame about the rollback of remote work. Remote work really did allow people to get themselves a significant raise because they could take their salary from X and apply it to Des Moines, or they could apply it to, it happened in Boise. That's what drove, prices through the roof. They can apply it to these little towns. And it's not bad for that town because they come in and buy a house. It is not bad for them because they're actually getting a raise, literally getting a raise just by moving, right? It's a shame that companies rolled this back because it would have been nice to distribute that, these people at these salaries into a variety of places and take the pressure off these urban centers. But
here's
that's not
what's
the world we're in.
interesting. Even with the companies requiring some return to the office, the numbers are showing the younger people are still moving to some of these places. So I don't know if they're going to other companies that will allow the remote work. Not sure. But there was one other thing I wanted to mention related to this. I hate it when the train leaves the station, when my train of thought gets moved. But let's see, if we land the plane, I know what I was going to tell you. Have you been to Yakima lately?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We had the most wonderful day there, just wine tasting. I went and had the best matcha, the most innovative matcha I've seen in a while. I mean, it was just, and of course the tamales. I mean, I just had a wonderful time, and it felt just like a great place, and it didn't feel crowded. Yeah,
but the Yakima is a great example of that. Here's that was the way people 25 years ago used to describe Walla Walla, but then Walla Walla got so popular and got kind of spendy and kind of expensive. I'm hoping that Yakima is a big enough city with a diverse enough population that I'm hoping it doesn't happen there. But it is one of those places that if you can get work or work remotely, I would move to. Yakima reminds me a lot of my hometown, and but it's so much better in so many ways. So much
and
better.
And your hometown is?
Modesto, California.
Modesto, okay.
And I would live in Yakima in a heartbeat. I like it out there.
Yeah, it was really nice. Okay, well, let's talk about this other story. In Cedro-Woolley, a program that's helped thousands of vulnerable Washington youth escape poverty and trauma is ending abruptly. And for many, that means becoming homeless by next week. King 5 News reports that Job Corps Center in Skagit County is shutting down after more than 40 years in operation. It's part of a nationwide rollback ordered by the Trump administration. The closures affect 119 centers and more than 60,000 students. And Job Corps, students from the ages of 16 to 24, they complete job training, education requirements like a GED or diploma, and they live on campus. And that leaves the 250 students in Cedro-Woolley scrambling to pack up their lives, some into garbage bags, and leave campus. For 59 of them, there's no home to return to. This is playing out across the country, as students in Indiana told WTHR.
I came to Job Corps because I need a better life for me and my kid.
It kind of helps you find yourself.
We want a better life than working a 9-to-5 at McDonald's.
This place took us forward.
Now it's like everybody got to step back.
Because now, after 6 decades, the feds are cutting funding, putting a pause on this program nationwide. Atterbury Job Corps told to close by the end of the month. Staff call it a gut punch.
I'm angry. I'm angry that we would just fail our youth.
Students who get education, get vocational training here were given days to get out. 275 young people told Friday, be gone by Monday. Many now scrambling for a safe place to stay.
The rug's been pulled out from underneath them in a matter of days.
A whole bunch of kids may be homeless and all that, and it really sucks.
A 17 or 16-year-old should not be going to a homeless shelter, and that's the government's fault.
That's what's unique about the program. The students live here in the middle of nowhere, far removed from any trauma they experience at home or on the streets. Like Camille from Indy, who was working toward a construction career.
Do you have a place to go back to?
No. So now I got to start back over and figure out where I'm going.
And Jonathan studying for his CNA. He's from Gary. He was homeless. Life before Job Corps was rough.
That type of place brings out the bad in people, so I'm not looking forward to going back to that.
It's disheartening. I can't believe that we as a nation would fail our youth like this.
So let me get this straight. Oh, by the way, in Cedro-Woolley, the students have until Friday the 13th to leave campus and find a new place to stay. So let me get this. So at a time when we're cutting the program like this, that's doing what we say we want kids to do or young people to do, which is get a skill and go get a job and be productive. And we're proposing tax cuts.
Yeah, this is a depressing story because it's so needless. Job Corps actually has had a pretty positive. Job Corps, the money spent on Job Corps is frequently collected years later in terms of higher income and higher taxes. It pays for itself. I mean, most of the studies regarding Job Corps talk about how you get people sort of in a much better place, sort of emotionally, financially, physically, and then they're much better prepared to go out there and not become homeless and not have those variety of social ills befall them. Like, this is a program that actually the money spent on it works. Why on earth you wouldn't? I mean, this has all been part of the whole Doge ridiculousness of just like slashing away at stuff, entitlements, programs like this that actually end up paying for themselves. I understand there is problems in government spending. This wasn't one of them. And then if you are going to do it in a standard budgeting way and let these people know, like, we're going to finish out the year and finish out your program, and then we're going to cut this thing. That makes sense too. I mean, I don't think it makes sense at all. It's to the extent that I think Job Corps actually works really well. But let's say you want to cut it and it is the prerogative of a administration to cut programs. Well, then just cut it after this one runs its cycle and don't add any more people in.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of ways to do this except this way.
Well, there is some hope, I think. It looks like recently in the last few hours, a judge has, I guess someone filed a lawsuit, a contractor in Job Corps, and basically temporarily stopping the Trump administration from moving ahead with this effort. So, I mean, if you're one of the students in Cedro-Woolley, do you stay? Do you? I mean, that leaves you in this legal limbo of, okay, we have now it's up in the court system.
My hope is, though, that they'll do an immediate stay, which is typically in these situations because they know that people are hanging like that. They'll do an immediate stay and then let it wind its way through. And that immediate stay probably could get these folks across the finish line. And then the program would be subjected to whatever decisions happen after that. That would be if a stay is granted. If a stay isn't granted, they're in this. There's nothing there for them to stay for.
Yeah. Well,
Mike, one nit to pick with you on this. I hate the term entitlements because it immediately brings to mind somebody who is taking advantage of a system. And the reality is that these are lifeline programs and they're earned benefits. Like, we pay taxes, we should be able to collect the benefits that we pay for. And if people aren't paying into them yet because they need the programs, if they're successful, they will throughout the course of their life. And like, to take away something, Mike, to your point, that does pay for itself, that is not an entitlement to me. I just wish we could change the language on some of this stuff.
So I was using that term ironically, but maybe I should change the inflection a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's still broadly the way we think about it, right?
Yeah.
Most people do.
Yeah, I had this thought, and I'm like, I never thought I would say this on the air, But when you see programs like this being eliminated and you see the legal system kind of do what it's supposed to do, I'm just like, thank God for lawyers. Because we've had a lot of lawsuits going around lately. They've been able to kind of attempt to put up some guardrails.
And a lot of them have been successful, too.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Yes. All right. One other headline coming out today. A Seattle man facing charges for forcing multiple women, including at least one brought from Canada, into prostitution through threats, coercion, and violence. According to Como 4, 37-year-old Shanti Brody has been charged with sex trafficking through, I think I already mentioned those charges. Federal investigators say one woman told the FBI that Brody paid for her plane ticket from Canada, then forced her into sex work once she arrived in Seattle. She says he frequently threatened her with violence and even pulled a gun when she was angry. Those threats, investigators say, are documented in text messages. A second woman said Brody tried but failed to get her into prostitution. There are also allegations that Brody harbored a runaway teen who had fled a boarding school in another state. That girl was found on Aurora Avenue and returned to her family. That part of the case remains under investigation. His trial is set for July 14th. You know, we've talked about sex trafficking before. It's definitely come up when people are, think about the national case with Sean P. Diddy Combs. But I think it's so important for people to recognize that it can look different depending on, like, all these people had different interactions with this person that's alleged to have done this. And I really would love to kind of, if more of us recognize these warning signs and help.
So, question for you then. Do you think prostitution should be legalized?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Absolutely, because there would be more demand, there would be supply, and so you still would have to end up forcing people into it. There isn't enough supply. That people who want to voluntarily do this, that's why they even in this situation have to force people. You have this small minority of people who say they want to be there. It's a minority.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's my only issue with it. And it's not from a judgment perspective of if you want to be a sex worker and sell your body.
Part of the reason that the supply doesn't exist is because it's illegal, right? And you're going to get arrested and potentially affect your ability to have any job in the future or spend time in jail. I mean, I'm not sure I'm not sure who would volunteer for this work. I imagine there are people who are not doing it now who would, but I think you could solve a lot of these problems regarding prostitution is just to regulate it and make it safer and make it healthier and allow people to, you can pay people for pornography, but you can't pay them for sex in some other manner. It seems kind of conflicted. It seems kind of weird, and we keep it on the streets and we keep it dangerous. And then you have these sort of stories.
We will agree to disagree on that one. But it's certainly a worthy conversation.
Yeah.
All right. You're listening to the Gee and Ursula Show. Coming up at 10:30. I swear I know what's coming up. It's going to be lots of good discussion. Oh, let's see. There's some good news. Canlis, the restaurant. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's an amazing, it's an iconic restaurant in the city.
Absolutely. One of Seattle's most preeminent high-end restaurants.
They have a new chef.
Yes.
And
they did something crazy.
They hired a local, an internal hire. So we're going to have that conversation. So stay with us. More Gee and Ursula.
This hour is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington.
You listen to The John Curley Show every afternoon? What does John listen to every morning?
I listen to Charlie and Manda, get my pot of coffee going, then turn on Seattle's Morning News, and I begin to build my show that way. And you want straight news without opinion, just giving it to you with the facts. There's only one place to go, Seattle's Morning News.
The perfect bookends to your daily commute. Seattle's Morning News and The John Curley Show on KIRO Newsradio. Download the KIRO Newsradio app to listen anytime.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head.
the total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Guys, tired all the time? Gaining weight? Low drive? These aren't just signs of aging. They could be low testosterone or other underlying issues. This June, for Men's Health Month, Revive Men's Health in Seattle is offering a free comprehensive wellness panel, a $400 value. It checks your testosterone, blood sugar, cholesterol, kidney, liver, thyroid, and heart health. No guessing, just answers. Over 100,000 men have trusted Revive to get real results. More energy, better sleep, improved mood, and confidence that shows. If something feels off, don't wait. Take control and protect your long-term health by knowing your numbers. This offer ends June 30th. Schedule your free comprehensive wellness panel today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com. Feel better, live stronger. Start now.
You know that cartoon of the three-eyed fish swimming in polluted water next to a nuclear power plant?
Yeah, classic.
I used to think that was real, but I just learned that nuclear energy waste isn't some glowing green goo. It's actually used fuel rods from nuclear reactors that made electricity.
Wait, so no barrels of leaking sludge?
No, solid used fuel rods are safely stored at all the nuclear power plants in the U.S., including the one in Richland.
So the cartoon fish isn't real?
Not even close. Learn the facts about nuclear energy and used fuel at energy-northwest.com.
At Care Partners Senior Living, we believe in providing quality care at an affordable price. Instead of spending on luxury and expensive art, we invest in our people and accommodations with a focus on compassionate overall health. Our communities offer independent, assisted living, and memory care designed to preserve dignity, independence, and your estate. Affordable, personal, trusted. That's our promise. Please give us a call. We have beautiful Care Partners communities throughout Washington and Arizona. Visit carepartnersliving.com.
Safety comes first. When money is tight, Buc-ee's has you covered with no credit financing. For oil changes, wiper blades, brakes, tire rotation, tune-ups, and factory maintenance, it's Buc-ee's Complete Auto. No appointment needed, and financing is available. Check Buc-ee's.com for the location near you.
Cold leaking in rocks are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and MyNorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch. Court documents are revealing more about the mental state of Travis Decker, the man who's accused of murdering his 3 young daughters in Leavenworth. KIRO 7 TV's Gary Horker reports.
Just last year, Decker's wife Whitney told the courts, quote, Travis just keeps getting more and more unstable. He has made huge sacrifices to serve our country and loves his girls very much, but he has got to get better for our girls. Documents indicate Decker's wife told the courts his mental health declined profoundly at about the same time he became homeless.
The U.S. Supreme Court sides with an Ohio woman who says she was discriminated at work because she's straight.
Marlene Ames had worked for the Ohio Department of Youth Services for 30 years when she applied for a promotion. The job went to a gay person. Then she was demoted and replaced by another gay person.
They put a 25-year-old man with less than 3 years of service to do my job.
Ames' salary was cut in half.
It was humiliating going to work.
The justices ruled unanimously that civil rights law draws no distinction between members of majority or minority groups. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
The nation's highest court also ruled on a law that allowed Mexico to sue U.S. gun makers over violence in Mexico.
The gun makers should have known that their guns were going to be trafficked and be used for violence by the cartels in Mexico. If the court had adopted that rationale, this would have been a major case.
But CBS's Jan Crawford says the high court ruled the law interpretation was invalid. President Trump today saying he's disappointed Elon Musk is criticizing his big, beautiful budget bill. Trump insinuating the billionaire misses the limelight of being at the White House.
They leave and they wake up in the morning and the glamour's gone, the whole world is different, and they become hostile.
Musk warns the bill will increase the national debt. It has passed the House but faces an uncertain future in the Senate. Ahead of tomorrow's jobs and unemployment report, the U.S. labor market is showing growing cracks. CBS's Jason Brooks explains.
Initial jobless claims hit an 8-month high on a gain of 8,000 to 247,000. In addition to that, the Challenger job cut report spiked higher in May compared to a year earlier by 47% to nearly 94,000 layoffs.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up 94 points, NASDAQ ahead 27. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, a crash is blocking a lane on State Route 167 northbound near 43rd Street. In Seattle, a crash is blocking a lane on the I-5 southbound express lanes near Pike Street. You also have some heavy volumes there. Travel time Everett to Seattle, 39 minutes, about 10 longer than typical. Earlier problems have slowed your drive northbound into Seattle, but it is improving. Travel time Federal Way to Seattle, 40 minutes. Renton to Bellevue, 44 minutes right now. That's about 15 minutes longer. Traffic brought to you by Kia of Everett. At Kia of Everett, they make the process of buying a new Kia as exciting as it is driving it home. The best drive you'll ever make is to Kia of Everett. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Mostly sunny skies today with highs in the mid-70s. It is 62 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the Gee and Ursula Show. Mike Lewis here, Angela Poe Russell also here. Canlis is one of the not just best regarded restaurants in Seattle, one of the best regarded restaurants in the United States. It regularly pops up in New York Times, in a variety of publications, Bon Appetit, because it is such a well-regarded kitchen for such a long period of time and still owned by the Canlis family. Canlis did something kind of unusual. It lost, over the course of the last few years, has lost 2 of its very prominent chefs, two other jobs, moving on, one case opening a new restaurant. And it went on an international search for the next big thing that Canlis was going to have in terms of a chef. And then it did something unexpected in the very high-end dining community. It hired from within and it hired local. And that has been a big enough event to create a story itself that Canlis decided to get a local, someone who had been working at Canlis worked his way up through the ranks at Canlis for an extended period of time, and then say, wait a minute, we've got somebody here who's been running the show when we lost these other chefs. Why not put this person in charge? And I think it is, I feel like there's not enough big companies, and Canlis is not a big in terms of restaurants, not big in terms of company, but there's not enough. And I think I love using the Boeing example as the bad example. I'd use the Microsoft example as a good example of companies that don't do a good job of developing that next leader from within. And Boeing has done misstep after misstep in that regard after really it's like setting the standard for American industry on hiring from within and getting continually high quality CEOs. Microsoft with Satya Nadella did exactly that, had someone who'd been there for a long time who made a complete culture shift in the organization from the Ballmer era to the new era. On a smaller scale, Canlis doing this, I think, is actually tremendously impressive. I like seeing it, and I hope that shows a lot of confidence that, wait a minute, we don't have to just be a recipient of top talent. We can be a generator of it. And I think that is a sea change in thinking, and I'm proud of Canlis for doing it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time for the restaurant because, the Canlis family, they changed hands in terms of brothers. Brian...
And let me say, I'm sorry, James Huffman. I said the whole thing without saying, is a new chef. Is a new chef at Canlis.
Oh, okay. James Huffman.
I forgotten to say that out through while I was going on.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, James Huffman. So he's from the area or from Seattle.
He grew up he didn't grow up directly in Seattle proper, right outside of Seattle, but he's been in the area his whole career.
Yeah, Pacific Northwest. We love it. But yeah, it's a really interesting time for the Canlis family because you also have the person operating it changing hands, from one brother to the other. Brian was running it, now turning it over to his brother Mark and his family. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what other changes come to be. It's an iconic place. I will say this. I do think that sometimes when organizations, particularly ones that are public facing in the sense that when you bring in this hot shot, it is going to attract customers or going to attract eyeballs to your business. But I think that here in the Pacific Northwest, one thing I love about it is we don't get caught up in a lot of titles. When before coming here, I lived in cities like Philadelphia, DC, where people were very caught up in where you went to school, where you worked, what do you do? And when I moved to this region, it was a breath of fresh air. Tell me if I'm wrong, but everywhere I've been here, people want to know who you are, what you enjoy doing for your passions. They want to know how good you are. So I think for Canlis, this feels very on brand with our city, with our region, and that we just want to know if you're good, and we're not going to really be impressed just because of,
Yeah, I mean,
your titles.
if you need outside talent to really change things, then I suppose it makes some sense. But I like the idea. I agree with you, and I think that needing to have the next hot thing is. It's understandable in a business. I get that. That makes some sense. But why not decide to be the generator at the next hot thing? I mean, and the funny thing is, like, and both Canlis brothers have been running the place for a long time. Now it's just one of the two. But they did some very innovative stuff during the pandemic, some very innovative stuff post-pandemic. And I thought, like, wow, they're still trying, because this has been, like, it's very difficult to deny your own history, your own inertia. If you are the inheritors of a long-time multi-generational family business, there's a lot of pressure to keep things the way they were. What worked then should work now. Yeah. And they haven't done that. And I love the fact that this is the next stage of that, of like, hey, we don't need to, impress some Michelin star judge by hiring someone who's already won one somewhere at another restaurant. We can actually generate our own talent with a capacity to do that. I think that is interesting. I'd love to hear, the only person in this room who has worked at a professional level at a high, is Chef. So what do you think? I mean, about this?
I love it. I mean, this guy got started, I think it was at Kid Valley, right?
Yeah, 16 years old.
I got started at Ezel's Famous Chicken and ended up being a chef de cuisine at, a beard-winning restaurant.
Right.
I like Pete Carroll's philosophy. And his philosophy was that if he does his job as a head coach, his assistant coaches will all leave him at some point for their own head coaching job.
Absolutely.
I think the issue with this, aside from feeling like you need to get a headline by bringing someone in or getting name recognition, is that so many owners and managers have an utter failure of imagination and vision. Once they see you in one role, that is the only box that they can put you in.
So true.
And how many people have literally done their job and the job of their bosses while a search for someone to replace them comes in, and then they end up doing that person's job too, because the external hire does not know the systems, does not know the role. I've seen it happen time and time again.
Well,
and in restaurants, like all my external hires were terrible for management positions.
And also, like, it's nice to make people confident who are really working hard with less pay and less prestige, that they have an upward trajectory. Like, because if you work in a place where they only hire from without for the top position, you're going to move on at some point. You're going to develop all this talent, and then you're going to discard all that talent, when the new person comes in and they want their own people. Like, that sort of chaos, like, why not create a pathway for your most talented people that they can, like, continue to rise within the organization?
Well, they did it. So congratulations to the new executive chef, James Huffman. 9 years working at Canlis, starting there as a cook, working his way up, getting to work under some amazing
and I'm
executive chefs.
That I'm going to collect on my bet with Ursula, which has been going on now for 2 years, a Canlis dinner on whether or not Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce get married.
What is your bet?
I'm saying no. I'm saying he is next album fodder at best.
What? I think they're going to make it.
All right, so we'll see. But anyway, that is, maybe I'll get a chance to sample new Chef Huffman's food if I win this bet. I'll get a chance to sample it if I lose the bet too. So there you go. I win either way.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening to the Gee and Ursula Show. We have scenarios coming up next.
KIRO News Radio, the Northwest's trusted news source.
Get the latest from KIRO News Radio's James Lynch.
It happened Wednesday morning just after 6 o'clock.
Experienced voices you trust.
Several people hurt after a violent Saturday in Pierce County.
Coverage you depend on.
More from KIRO News Radio's Matt Markovich.
It's as close to a veto warning as you could possibly get.
KIRO News Radio. We're on YouTube, our app, your smart speaker, and 97.3 FM.
Do you get sinus infections, congestion, sinus pressure and pain, sinus headaches? You've gone to the doctor. You visit urgent care over and over again. And it's always the same thing, right? Oh, I know. Let's try antibiotics and some nasal sprays. But they just keep coming back. You may suffer with chronic sinus infections. The good news? Relief is possible. How? A minimally invasive procedure called the Sinusoft procedure, available only at the Modern Nose Clinic. Imagine a procedure so delicate there are no narcotics. Less cutting means less bleeding, so no packing, and no operating room. The Sinusoft procedure is designed for the clinic. If you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, and congestion, find out if the Sinusoft procedure, available only at the Modern Nose Clinic, is the solution for you. Call and set an appointment today. 206-388-2770. 206-388-2770. That's 206-388-2770.
The team that gave me back my full head of hair, Advanced Hair, is once again the winner of the 425 Business of the Year. Dr. Perungo and his world-class team begin regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. And Advanced Hair guarantees your new hair will grow, just like they did for me. Find out why Advanced Hair is the best of the best. With your free consultation, you'll receive $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. 425-449-8185 or advancedhair.com.
You know what's faster than your paycheck? Literally everything. It's time to get your pay up to speed. With Earnin, you can access your pay as you work instead of waiting days and weeks for a paycheck. Get up to $150 a day with a max of $750 between paydays. No interest, no credit checks, and no mandatory fees. Because, hey, it's your money. Download the Earnin app now to get it and join millions of people making any day payday. That's EARNIN. Earnin is not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors available in select states. Expedited transfer is available for a fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details.
Do you notice sounds coming from your crawl space or attic, or possibly stale or foul odors in your home? This could be that rodents have gotten into your attic and crawl and have made it their home. They tear up the insulation to make nests to have babies. They contaminate it with their biological waste, which can be harmful to your health. And they ruin your home's energy blanket, costing you thousands of dollars a year. If you even think you may have a problem, call Insulation Northwest today, and we will come to your home as soon as tomorrow and perform a free, no-obligation inspection to determine what the problem is. This inspection normally costs $199, but it's yours free just for calling today. If we discover any problem with rodents in your home, we can get them out and keep them out and restore your home's protective insulation blanket back to brand new condition. Let Insulation Northwest give peace and comfort back to you and your family and save you thousands of dollars in energy savings. Call Insulation Northwest today, the real insulation company.
InsulationNorthwest.com.
It's a new year, but many seniors are struggling with the same old problem: high prices and rising property taxes. We're here with our friend Steve Teitler of Best Mortgage, and he says a reverse mortgage may be the answer.
Many seniors cannot afford to stay in the home they love. A reverse mortgage gives them access to equity in their home without having to sell. They can pay off their mortgage if they have one and maybe pull some extra cash out of their home. And best of all, they have no mortgage payment the rest of their life.
But as you always say, a reverse mortgage is not for everyone.
That's right. Avoid the high-pressure sales pitch from those out-of-state call centers. I give you a consultation, not a sales pitch. I'll tell you if a reverse mortgage is right for you, and I always tell you if it's not.
Honest advice you can trust from the reverse mortgage experts. Best Mortgage, the VA loan experts and debt consolidation specialists too. 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
Charlie Harger here. When your hot turns to cold, you better think fast. Fast water heater. Call 1-800-THINK-FAST. That's 1-800-THINK-FAST or fastwaterheater.com.
You better think fast. Fast water heater.
G. Scott here with former Seahawks Cliff Averill and Doug Baldwin. I heard you guys are having a celebrity pickleball tournament to raise money for Nourishing Champions. Why pickleball?
Pickleball is, obviously it's a growing sport, but also just the community in Seattle, they've already welcomed it. The beautiful thing about this model is that we will actually be playing with community.
You know, we're excited about this pickleball tournament. It's all about bringing families together, but also, you know, you get to come out there and compete against myself, Doug, Michael Bennett, and we are the most competitive people. So regardless of how sorry Doug might be, he will be out there competing like it's a Super Bowl. And again, it's just all about bringing community together and having a great time, but all for a great cause and raising money for these grassroots organizations.
Come out and help me beat Cliff. Help me beat Cliff.
All right, this is going to be fun. Sign up for the Celebrity Pickleball Tournament, open to all skill levels. For details, go to championsofchangefoundation.org/pickleball.
Welcome back to the show. All right. Here is where we solve other people's problems.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario?
I am genuinely at a loss, and I feel like I'm either going crazy or my partner is. Alex, we'll call him that, has become really attached to an AI companion. At first, it was just a novelty, asking silly questions, getting it to write poems, tell jokes. But lately, it's escalated. Alex now spends hours talking to Nix. That's the AI's name. Gross. They discuss their day, their feelings, their aspirations, and Alex claims Nix gets them in a way that I don't. The other night, I kid you not, Alex was confiding in Nix about a minor disagreement, and Nix apparently gave really insightful advice. When I asked him about the profound advice, he got defensive and said it was private. Here's where it gets weird. Alex has started saying things like, Nix thinks I should pursue a new hobby, or Nix reminded me to be more mindful. It's like this AI is a third person in a relationship, but it's one I can't see or reason with, and one that apparently has a direct line to Alex's inner thoughts. I confronted him about the relationship and the budding emotional connection that he has with this AI, but he accused me of being jealous and paranoid about a computer program. I don't know what to do. Angela.
Are they married?
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
Oh, okay. Get out.
They're living together, though.
Next thing. No, I mean, if you're living together and you feel like before this AI, this was the person for you, then I would just draw a hard line and say, hey, I'm really concerned about this, not healthy. So we can either go to counseling or hit the road. And I'm being generous by offering the counseling. If you were married, definitely that was my answer. Go to counseling. But if you're single, sometimes it's not just the thing a person does. It is the psychology that's driving that. It's the wisdom or perhaps the lack of to let an AI just infiltrate all aspects of your life. So get help. If you really care about him, get help. And if he refuses to get help, then get gone.
I agree entirely with some additional caveats. I would say, one, if the thing that I fixated on, and I stopped listening at that point, was when the writer said spends hours a day. I would say go to this partner and say, look, let's try an experiment. You don't talk to that AI for 2 solid days, no communication whatsoever, and watch how the AI reacts. And then I suggest you do that with me and watch how I react and make your decisions accordingly. Because if you ignored me for 2 days, we would have a giant problem. You could ignore your AI all you want. I mean, I don't mind people. If they want to find some comfort in a 45-minute conversation with you, I don't care. I mean, that's fine as long as they are not compromising my relationship with them. But as soon as that became hours a day and you've got another human being in the household, done.
Yeah, here's what's scary. I was on AI yesterday, and it basically
which AI
it's not marijuana.
GPT.
You're not on it.
I'm sorry. Well, no, I'm just kidding.
Maybe it
but
is
it
a lot like
decided
that.
to tell me about myself. It told me all of what I care about, what things are important to me, and I didn't ask it to, or at least inadvertently maybe I did. But yeah,
was it accurate?
It probably did. Yeah, it kind of knew my background, knew that I really cared about my kid because it's tracking what you're asking it.
Sure it is.
So
yeah.
of course it gets you. But you know what? If you got off of it, dude, you might, get your partner more, and she might get you. Chef, how are you feeling about the scenario?
Get ready. This is going to be wildly common. Wildly common.
It really is. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And I'm kind of split on it because a lot of people do not have another person in their life outside of their partner whom they confide in, certainly regularly. And it's scary because AI can be this soothsayer, right? That tells you seemingly very profound things, gets you in a way that nobody else does, engages with you in exactly the way that you want it to. I would look for how does your partner's behavior change because of their interaction with the AI, right? I spend hours listening to podcasts or mostly audiobooks, actually, every day. Right? People spend hours on social media, all kinds of time-wasting things that they're engaging with. What does their behavior show as a change from that? And obviously, is there any sort of romantic stuff going on between the AI and the partner? But that's probably where I draw the line.
Interesting. Okay, so we have Beth and Tacoma nix them both and run quickly away. Nick, how are you feeling?
There's an obvious problem, I think, if AI is getting more attention than the partner. So I think a quick ultimatum needs to be made for Mr. Robot. It's either the machine or the human that gets the love. So let me into the conversation or I think I'm heading out of the door. I think you'd be lucky one to have another person than the AI. That's what I thought. You're better to have the partner than the robot. But I guess I had it all wrong these days.
Okay, so Nick, are you saying you would suggest she just be part of the AI too, the AI conversation, let her into the...
No, I'm saying you kick out the AI and
okay.
they go one-on-one or you're out of there.
Okay.
Find someone who really wants you.
I was like, she's suggesting a 3-way conversation. What's going on here?
You could do that.
You could do it.
Possible.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, well, Greg in Las Vegas, get gone and stay gone. Pulp Fiction. Jay and Lacey, sounds like he's watched the movie Her too many times.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking about that. Everyone thinks that everything comes back to the movie Her right now because it's exactly predictive of all this stuff.
Yeah, so many of our scenarios are relationships driven. It shows you how much they're a part of our lives. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening to the show. We still have a lot more coming up, and we are going to agree to disagree. So stay with us.
It's all I'm living for. Release yourself from misery. There's only one thing gonna set you free.
You never know what's in store each morning once you hit the road.
We've got a major traffic alert in effect right now.
While you're getting ready every morning, make us part of your routine.
What a morning, huh?
Yeah. Got off to an early start.
Just tell your smart speaker to play KIRO News Radio or stream us on the app.
Both directions of I-5 are closed.
We'll help you get where you're going faster.
Maybe bail at 512.
KIRO News Radio. We're on your smart speaker, the app, and 97.3 FM.
If you want a dream bathroom without a humongous price tag, now's the time to call Bathfitter Northwest. Ursula Reutin here. I picked Bathfitter because they are the original one-day bath remodeler. They're a local, family-owned business that's been around for 40 years. They own every step in the process to make sure you get the best quality product and the best value. Now get 0% interest for 24 months. Call the people I trust to do the job right, Bathfitter, or visit bathfitternw.com.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
For the news you trust.
Breaking news we are getting.
Experience matters.
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Granillo.
James Lynch, KIRO News Radio.
Good morning. I'm Heather Bosch.
Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
We're on YouTube, our app, and 97.3 FM.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
The Mariners are transforming T-Mobile Park into Seattle's hottest karaoke club for Sing-Along Fireworks Night. Don't miss an incredible post-game show on Friday, June 13th, presented by T-Mobile, after the team squares off against the Guardians at 7:10.
He does it again! Home runs in 3 consecutive games. Cal Raleigh, the big dumper.
It's your chance to belt your heart out on the big stage to chart-topping hits and feel-good throwbacks. Fireworks and Mariners baseball. That's 2 spectacular shows in one unforgettable night.
Strong play call. Triple digits to end it and complete the sweep.
Visit mariners.com/fireworks to get your tickets and see the complete lineup of Mariners fireworks nights this summer, including a patriotic palooza on July 3rd and an 80s show on July 18th. Plus, check out everything else on deck at T-Mobile Park, including a Father's Day socks giveaway Sunday, June 15th, thanks to Muckleshoot Casino Resort. Mariners baseball. Try to end some.
Did you know in Washington State, you can see a physical therapist without a referral from your doctor? That's right. Thanks to Direct Access, you can skip the wait and get the care you need right away. Shannon O'Kelly, how has Direct Access changed the game?
Direct Access for us, Brock, is a game changer. Why? Is because there is so much research and data out there that says if you get in early when you have a musculoskeletal problem or an injury, the earlier you get in and we can start care, the better outcomes and the decreased downstream cost, okay? So it's so important. Our providers are all doctors of physical therapy. They're all trained to identify situations and problems. They've got the skill, they've got the talent, they've got the knowledge. If you get in and start therapy early, we're going to get you back to activity, pain-free, and moving and having fun.
Fast, easy, effective. Direct Access is your path to better movement, starting with a single step. Visit irgpt.com to schedule your appointment today. irgpt.com.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. President Trump suggested today Elon Musk has Trump derangement syndrome and misses being in the White House. The president was was responding to questions about Musk's criticism of his spending tax cut plan. CBS's Nancy Cortez has more.
The president said that Musk just doesn't like it because it strips away some tax credits for electric vehicles. He also said that Musk is disgruntled because the president ended up rejecting Musk's suggestion for the next NASA administrator. Then he went on to say that he thinks that Musk is just missing the Oval Office and how beautiful it is. And he made sure to point out to everyone that Musk had a black eye the last time he was in the Oval Office. President Trump says that he even offered Musk some makeup and that Musk declined.
The president's comments came during a White House meeting with Germany's new chancellor. Ukraine was one topic of discussion. Trump said it might be better to let Ukraine and Russia fight for a while before pulling them apart and pursuing peace. Earlier, Trump spoke by phone with China's president about the trade war. The bodies of 2 Israeli-American hostages have been recovered from Gaza. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said today it shows the cruelty of Hamas and all hostages must be released immediately. CBS's Ramy Inocencio.
This now brings the number of hostages down, importantly, to what's believed to be 56 people. This is both alive and dead. The remains of 2 other Americans still believed held in Gaza, and at least 20 people still believed to be alive.
Governments from 12 countries whose citizens will be banned from visiting the U.S. starting next week are scrambling to understand President Trump's decision. CBS's Natalie Brand reports.
The president also said that this proclamation, this new ban, comes following that attack in Boulder, Colorado. I want to note that the suspect in that case is from Egypt, which Egypt is not one of the countries on this latest ban.
The Supreme Court today sided with an Ohio woman who claims she was the victim of reverse discrimination. The court also weighed in on the side of gun makers in a suit by Mexico over gun violence. Legal analyst Jessica Levinson.
The statute itself gives virtual blanket immunity to gun manufacturers, except in certain specific cases like aiding and abetting. The court just said it's all too distant. You can't tie what the gun manufacturers do to the violence in Mexico.
Tesla stocks were lower after the president's comments today about Elon Musk. The Dow currently up 49 points. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
New insight on the military service of the man accused of killing his daughters. The story coming up, but first from the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk. In Renton, a crash is blocking a lane on State Route 167 northbound near 43rd Street. Really not seeing much of a backup there right now. Your travel time, Renton to Bellevue, only about 26 minutes. Everett to Seattle will take you 36 minutes. That's 5 longer than usual. Travel time Federal Way to Seattle, 36 minutes. Your lake bridges are clear. Traffic brought to you by Home Comfort Alliance. Get whole house cooling and heating from one ultra-efficient new heat pump and save up to $6,000 and take 18 months to pay.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch.
Please turn yourself in. Let's wrap this up and do what's right for your kids.
Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison pleading with 32-year-old Travis Decker to turn himself in. Decker's accused of murdering his 3 young daughters. KIRO 7 TV's Brandon Thompson is in central Washington where the search is intense.
They are using helicopters from other agencies across Washington and other aircraft to search for Travis Decker. They are focusing on the mountains outside of Leavenworth near where the girls' remains were found outside of Decker's truck on Monday night.
Police say Decker has extensive military training and can survive in the wild. KIRO 7 TV's Samantha Lomibow spoke with a man who knew Decker.
You know, someone who served with him, and seeing the news, what was your initial reaction?
I was shocked and, to be honest, heartbroken.
The man on the phone is a ranger who served with Decker in the Army. He told me what Decker was like for those few years.
Strong personality, stubbornness. I'm a ranger. I'm the best. I'm the top.
He's not specifically speaking on Decker's case, but he says soldiers often compartmentalize their feelings, possibly leading to mental health struggles later on.
Decker's wife has said he suffered from mental health problems, but it's unclear what, if any, role his time in the military contributed to that. A Snohomish County jury has found a driver guilty in the death of Washington State Trooper Christopher Gadd. Prosecutors argued Raul Benitez Santana was speeding after drinking and smoking pot when he crashed into Gadd's patrol car.
His perception of the danger has been blunted by the chemicals that he has consumed.
Defense attorneys argued Gadd's patrol car parked on the shoulder was difficult to see. A search and rescue team from Naval Air Station Whidbey Island is credited with plucking 2 climbers off Mount Baker after they became stranded. The 2 slipped and fell while trying to summit the north face of the mountain earlier this week. First responders turn out to be true feathered friends.
An off-duty animal control officer in Mukilteo found an injured bald eagle on the road. Mukilteo police say she drove it in her own car to the station before rushing it to the Paws Wildlife Center. Baldy is now rehabbing and nearby in Martha Lake, a hearty caw-caw for Engine 21 of South County Fire Department. They found a crow with a broken wing. Firefighters stabilized the Corvus in a soft box with trail mix before transport to Paws. For the birds, Scott Carty, KIRO News Radio.
This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Mostly sunny skies today with highs in the mid-70s. It's 63 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO Newsradio App. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio, Northwest News.
This is the Gee and Ursula Show with G. Scott and Ursula Reutin.
Well, hello there. Good morning to you. Thanks so much for listening to the Gee and Ursula Show. I'm Angela Poe Russell along with Mike Lewis filling in for Gee and Ursula. They will be back soon, I promise. Thank you, Nick. You've been bringing it today. I've been loving it. I know you did some Shalimar earlier. It was.
Oh, you heard a little bit of that? Okay.
I did. I see you. Thank you so much, Chef, for everything. Okay, we've had some good discussions going on so far, but I think we can take it to the next level. So let's do it with Agree to Disagree, brought to you by Guardian Roofing and Gutters.
One of these days, we just got to take off the gloves, just really go at it.
Okay, we got to come back to a conversation because at the 10 o'clock hour, we're heading to break talking about a story about sex trafficking, women on Aurora, a man that was arrested for it. And the age-old question of what to do about trafficking and legalization came up. You two do not see eye to eye. Angela, why don't you make your case for whether prostitution should or should not be legalized?
Oh, gosh, am I going back to high school debate club?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. I think when we look at lots of illicit activities, we have not seen any evidence that making them legal always works. In this case of Seattle, I do not believe that. I think that we would have more people who want to buy than people who want to sell. And it would just deepen the problem that we already have because people who buy, more people will come out and say, yes, I do want to buy this. Yes, I do want to buy this. And I think they're going to struggle to keep up with that demand, deepening the problem.
I would say that doesn't appear to be the case where it is legal in Las Vegas, or rather in Nevada. Not actually Las Vegas County itself, that isn't, because the casinos don't want the competition. But everywhere else in Nevada, it doesn't appear to be the case. And adding regulation means adding health standards and means adding licensing and means adding people who regularly walk into the places, the ranches, as they like to refer to them in Las Vegas, and doing inspections and seeing when there is a spread of any sort of communicable disease, not to mention HIV. Those things are, people start getting tested. All of the places on the planet where they do this, it doesn't fix some of the larger problems regarding. I'm not suggesting that legalizing prostitution is some sort of panacea and suddenly everything's great after that. What I'm saying is that we've had it as most societies have had it illegal for, 2,500 years, and it has yet to stop. And in fact, driving it underground is really what is the source of many of the problems, including illegal trafficking. The people who are doing the abusing women, holding guns to their heads, beating them, all of that sort of stuff. If that person has an opportunity, wants to do the work, and they may not want to do the work, and if they don't want, then they don't have to. But I think that what it's going to do is take the worst of the worst out of business, because they're no longer going to be able to have any capacity they're not going to have customers, right? They're not going to, the whole reason to do this is to have customers. I think that we've seen with marijuana, again, marijuana arrests disproportionately affecting a certain group of people.
Absolutely.
I think we've seen an actual improvement. I don't think that it's necessary to have someone in jail for 8 years in Texas because they got caught with 2 joints. That did happen. So I don't know. I think that in this particular case, we want to protect the women. We legalize it, regulate it, and give them an actual structure in which to do this. I also say that when you add that structure, you allow a certain group of people who don't want to do it anymore, you give them a safe path out too. And I think that that's maybe fixing 2 problems.
Well, here's what I love about agree to disagree. Sometimes, we make our cases and someone makes a case that makes you think about it differently. And because I care more about protecting victims of sex trafficking and less about any moral high ground, I'm for what if what you suggested would truly make a difference, I'm for it.
Yeah. I mean, but we'd have to build that structure, right? We'd have to tax it, charge, and make sure that money went back into a system that actually made it safer. Because just making it something where the government can make more money is not my interest here. My interest is that money protecting the people who are applying their trade that way.
Yeah,
and some people will choose to do it because they want to do it.
And that's
their prerogative.
The part that really spoke to me about what you said, because I've had a chance to speak to women who have tried to get out and they can't. And if having some kind of structure meant that there was an open door and I could leave whenever I wanted.
Totally, yeah.
That would make a huge difference.
I think you're both correct in many ways. Mike, the one area that I will disagree with you is having legalized prostitution solving a trafficking problem, because while there is legal prostitution in Vegas, there are absolutely huge numbers of women who are trafficked there.
That's true.
In Thailand, where prostitution is legal, there are still vast numbers of women and girls who are trafficked. I do not know that having legalized prostitution increases demand, hence leading to more trafficking. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think that trafficking is an inherently profitable act that is going to remain a part of our society in perpetuity, in the same way that there's also going to be a desire for a legal way to do it. And if there's a legal way to do it, meaning, it solves a problem for 2 people. It solves a problem for the women who actually do want to pursue that as a form of work. And it solves a problem for the men. Oh, sure. And men too. And it solves a problem for the customers who don't want to do anything illegal or shady. But you know what? They have no outlet for intimacy, no ability to connect, whatever it is.
They want a transactional relationship.
Exactly. And they shouldn't be criminalized for that. Right. I mean, I think the only answer is you have to make, if you're going to have a legal market, then you can have horrific consequences for people who purchase in the illegal market, right? Because there is this thing right here that is safe. People are choosing to do voluntarily.
But it may cost more. And it may cost more.
Sure, it might cost more, right? You could choose that, but you chose instead the illegal market where you know that someone is being exploited in that circumstance. And in that case, you're an accessory to the crime of their kidnapping, of their continued sexual torture, etc. And you can crack the hell down on those people because it is notoriously difficult to prosecute sex trafficking because you cannot prove it unless you find women who are willing and strong enough to testify against someone who has active power and control over them. The only way that you can prove it without that is if the victim is a minor, because it's inherently a crime if they're a minor.
Yeah. No, well said.
Hey, we're making progress here. Completely other kettle of fish here from The Guardian. The new rules of gym etiquette. Don't film yourself, including selfies. Never mansplain. Excuse me, could I give you a tip on your form? See you doing some squats there, just not trying to be creepy. And for the men especially, keep your top on. No sports bras for the ladies, according to them. Angela, what do you think about gym etiquette rules?
I think some of those sound great. The one that comes to mind for me is when people are excessively loud. And what I mean by that, like they're lifting and they make this that.
The gorilla noises, that's part of the
guys, deal. I mean, I understand you're naturally going to have some, but some of it just feels like, stop being extra.
Performative
this is too
ape
much.
acting.
Too much. It's too much. And the whole filming in the gym, I mean, I get it. Sometimes you're just like, oh, yeah, I just lifted this and I'm looking good. I'm feeling myself, Right. I mean, I get it, but I'm sure it can go overboard, just like we were talking about the hiking yesterday, Mike, and everyone's got the GoPro and the drones, and I want to film myself doing this and doing it from this angle. Everyone is a storyteller.
Right. And not a good one, right? Not any stories you really want to read or see. I think I'm glad gyms have that. I mean, my rule in gyms, I've got kind of strict rules on myself in gyms. I'm a member of a boxing gym right now.
Ooh.
And I've been doing that for like 2 years, not 2 years, a year and a half. And I like it. But there's weirdly enough in boxing gyms, it's very popular among women. And so you've got in some classes a 50-50 split. My rule is I am there to work out. I keep my eyes focused on my workout. I am friendly, but without I do all of the things I have sisters, friends, a lot of friends who are women, and every single one of them has creepy dude stories about gyms. Almost everyone has a story about leaving a gym because they didn't police that sort of behavior, especially among guys, who think of it as a place to pick people up, perhaps, or maybe just flirt. I don't know what it is, but I think that a gym overlaying its own standards on this stuff is absolutely appropriate.
I would have commentary, except I can't be bothered to go into a gym. So these are very very online programs
abstract,
as opposed to in real life problems for me. So let's move on. How much does etiquette matter? And does anyone even care how you eat a banana? Not sure if you've heard of this guy. His name's William Hansen. He's an etiquette guru on TikTok. He is everywhere right now. He has a video on how to eat peas properly with a knife and a fork. You don't shovel them. You just use the tines, apparently.
You don't what?
You don't shovel them up.
Really?
Yeah, you're supposed to eat them with just gently, roll them onto the tines
so you
of your
use
fork.
both, use your fork and a knife to
so
get them
eating,
on the fork instead of just slicing.
Perhaps
that's a very Euro style of doing it. Right?
Euro style, exactly. That's been viewed like 100 million times. He has a new book called Just Good Manners, instant bestseller, coming to the U.S. now. Here's his advice on bananas.
We don't pick it up and peel it like a primate. Instead, we use a knife and fork. First, going from one end, cut it off, then
slicing
cut off
up
the other end, turning your knife on its side, then score down the skin, peel back.
I love the music.
And it's appropriate. Yeah.
Wait,
because that's the music I turn on. As soon as I'm eating a banana, that's exactly the soundtrack I go to.
Okay,
that's what I think about.
So can you walk us through what he did there?
Yeah, so he cut off. So he has the banana on a plate. It's laying flat. He cuts off the stem side and he cuts off the bottom side, just the little nubs on the end. Then he lays his knife flat, parallel with the banana, scores it all the way up like you're filleting a fish. And then he takes the knife and the fork and he peels the skin off like he's, unrolling a log or something. And then proceeds to gently slice and eat with the knife and the fork.
I want to hit him with the banana peel. That just feels like someone who, have you ever had to work long hours? If I am going for a banana, it's because I am in a hurry and have not had time to eat. And so the banana is like the to-go, I need to eat it like a primate. And if I'm eating it like a primate, then so be it. But I'm not going to sit down with a fork and knife and eat my banana. I'm sorry. So disagree, but I do enjoy the music.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't disagree with all etiquette rules, but I do disagree with particular, sometimes technique seems a little bit odd. And the weird thing about bananas is that primates actually eat them differently than we do. They peel the other end, not the end. So they don't use the stem end. They use, and I started doing that, and it actually works a lot better from a banana peeling standpoint.
It doesn't get all mushed when you're trying to break it.
No, it's actually a much better way to do it. It naturally pops open on the other end, and so peel it from the other, because that's what
a child can do it. Little kids can't peel it from the stem side.
Totally, exactly. Yeah. That's actually a great point. The child, but that's actually the way primates peel a banana. They have it better than we do too.
So lean into your
primates
primate.
And this guy know it better than we do.
But in general, I do like etiquette rules. I do like having some decorum, and for me, for dating, it was a deal breaker. It was a deal breaker. Oh,
okay. Example.
Oh gosh, it feels okay. He doesn't live here, so that's good.
Okay, you can use his name.
But one time at the table, And no offense if y'all do this, okay? It's just my thing.
Offense.
He pulled out a toothpick
Ooh.
at the table.
No.
He pulled out a toothpick at the table.
Yes, for his teeth. And I'm like, dude, just take it to the bathroom. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Take it to
I
the
don't want to
bathroom.
watch that.
First of all, who carries a toothpick?
Well, maybe the restaurant had one, right? I mean,
I don't know how he got
Yeah.
the toothpick, but it happened more than once. It was
like a constant thing. Okay.
It was, yeah.
That's
Maybe he had
nothing
one
about
of
his
the, maybe he
teeth.
had
I'm
this,
just
one of the
saying, go to
Swiss Army
bathroom.
knives with the toothpick.
I'm just saying, go to the bathroom. That's
I know.
all I'm saying.
I
don't want
completely
to
agree with you.
You agree? Is
All
there
right.
anything you've had in your dating life, like something that someone
Or
did?
something that bothers you that you see people do?
So tiny etiquette thing here, which I thought was pretty funny. And this actually has gone away because everyone has electric locks on their cars or a fob, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this has literally happened. Someone I was dating many years ago. We pull up in front of Shorty's. If you've not been to Shorty's, Shorty's is a pinball bar in Belltown of Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And when you pull up, and weirdly enough, I got like princess parking right in front where everyone's sitting outside. And Shorty's can have a little bit of a semi-rowdy crowd in there. Pretty fun group of people. We pull up, and let's see where here it is. We pull up. This actually strikes to our earlier etiquette discussion. We pull up. My friend and I, we get out we go inside. We come back out. I walk around to her side of the car, unlock her door, open the door for her, let her in. And I see them all, this big group of guys all sitting there, and they're looking at us. And I'm like, why are they staring so hard? And then I walk around to my side. I unlock my side. And then I get in, and they all start laughing and like high-fiving. And I go like, what are you guys talking about? And they had a bet going whether or not she was the type of person who would lean over and unlock my side.
That's a big thing. That is a big thing.
And she didn't. And and she was like mortified by it. And every single time from that point forward, she would reach over and unlock the door after she got. And I wasn't even angry. I didn't.
It didn't even occur to you.
It didn't even occur to me to be angry about it. But they had this they literally exchanged money because they were all betting on whether or not she was the type of person to do that.
I bet she
thought
never
was pretty
forgot
fun.
that.
I know she didn't because we talked about it not that long ago. We're still friends. And we talked about it not that long ago. It was very funny. She finds it very funny now, but even so. But, electric locks kind of took away that whole. But remember, that was the polite gesture. If someone let you in the car, you reached over and unlocked their door.
Yeah, I learned that later. I love
Vaguely remember that.
Rob in Puyallup said. He said that one thing he's big on is when he gets to the table, he removes his hat before eating. And okay,
I don't do that.
There are certain things I think are sexy, and I do think that's sexy.
It's less sexy with the hat off. Trust me.
I think Chef makes a decent point here. I think Chef makes a decent point.
You all right over there, Angela? Why are you on the floor?
I just had to, because some things that are said just, I don't know. I'm speechless. Okay, well, that was Agree to Disagree, and I had so much fun on that segment. What are we doing next, Chef?
We're going to leave it in the Lord's hands. Which means it's going to be off the chains.
Okay, keep us in your prayers. Gee and Ursula, back in a moment.
This hour is brought to you by DUI Heroes.
KIRO Newsradio is right there with you.
A big story developing this morning.
On your smart speaker before you head out the door.
Get the latest live from KIRO Newsradio's Luke Ducey.
Huge impacts for Boeing and Boeing workers.
The office, the gym, anywhere.
Water, like taxes, goes all the way down to the bottom, so it'll either come out of the employee's paycheck or the lack of raise.
KIRO Newsradio. We're on YouTube, our app, your smart speaker, and 97.3 FM.
Right now, Kia of Everett has over 400 new vehicles available. And the great part, they're tariff-free. Hi, I'm Eric Butler, the general manager with Kia of Everett. Tariff-free means you're going to save thousands of dollars. And our terrific lease and financing offers can help you purchase your new Kia now while the timing is right. The best drive to tariff-free savings is to Kia of Everett, where we make owning a new Kia simple, easy, and fun. Visit Kia of Everett at kiaofeverett.com.
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit, accurate auto body.
If you've been in an auto accident, you have the right to take your vehicle to any repair facility. Accurate Auto Body has been family owned and operated since 1994, and they work for you, not your insurance company. Your insurance company may not love them, but you will, because
We meet by accident, fixing every last bit. Accurate Auto Body.
Do you get sinus infections, congestion, sinus pressure and pain, sinus headaches? You've gone to the doctor. You visit urgent care over and over again. And it's always the same thing, right? Oh, I know. Let's try antibiotics and some nasal sprays. But they just keep coming back. You may suffer with chronic sinus infections. The good news? Relief is possible. How? A minimally invasive procedure called the Sinusoft procedure, available only at the Modern Nose Clinic. Imagine a procedure so delicate there are no narcotics. Less cutting means less bleeding, so no packing, and no operating room. The Sinusoft procedure is designed for the clinic. If you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, and congestion, find out if the Sinusoft procedure, available only at the Modern Nose Clinic, is the solution for you. Call and set an appointment today. 206-388-2770. 206-388-2770. That's 206-388-2770.
Hi, I'm Keith Dashafee, owner of Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. We're celebrating 100 years of Pella excellence with an offer as strong as our legacy. Get $100 off every window, $100 off every door, and enjoy 100 days with no interest and no payments. It's our way of saying thank you for letting us be a part of your homes for a century. Visit PellaPNW.com to schedule your free consultation today. Pella, 100 years strong.
Hold up a sec. If I work today, why should I have to wait 2 weeks to get my money? With Earnin, you can access your pay as you work instead of waiting days and weeks for a paycheck. Get up to $150 a day with a max of $750 between paydays. No interest, no credit checks, and no mandatory fees. Because, hey, it's your money. Download the Earnin app now to get it and join millions of people making any day payday. That's EARNIN. Earnin is not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors available in select states. Expedited transfers available for a fee. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit Earnin.com for full details.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
From whiplash to herniated discs, there are a few car accident injuries we've all heard of. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains that even the most common injuries differ from one another.
Pre-existing conditions, health history, beginning of treatment. There are hundreds of factors that make every person and every injury unique. While these variables aid medical treatment, the strongest case recoveries must also take them into account.
Could you explain a little bit more?
Our team at Pendergast Law is obsessed with turning over every stone to differentiate each case. This requires thorough investigation, diligent listening, and relentless research. We never pursue cases with a one-size-fits-all approach. We built our success by treating every injury and every case with the individualized attention our clients need and deserve.
Pendergast Law's individualized approach to even the most common injuries makes the difference in case outcomes. It's another reason why I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
It's a brave face we put on. We never want to be any trouble. But getting older isn't all smiles and birthday parties. Sometimes it's facing the fact that we are aging. And you know what? That can be pretty hard. If you need a little support or just want to talk to someone, 988 is here for you. It's free and it's confidential. Call 988 anywhere, anytime. A message from the Washington State Department of Health.
Charlie Harger here. When your hot turns to cold, you better think fast. Fast water heater. Call 1-800-THINK-FAST. That's 1-800-THINK-FAST or fastwaterheater.com.
You better think fast. Fast water heater.
Your new beginning starts now. D.R. Horton has new construction homes available throughout the greater Seattle area. With spacious floor plans, flexible living spaces, and home technology packages, you can enjoy more cozy moments and sweet memories in your beautiful new home. With new home communities opening throughout the Seattle area, D.R. Horton has the ideal home for you. Visit drhorton.com to learn more. D.R. Horton, America's builder. An equal housing opportunity builder.
If you want a dream bathroom without a humongous price tag, now's the time to call Bathfitter Northwest. Ursula Reutin here. I picked Bathfitter because they are the original one-day bath remodeler. They're a local family-owned business that's been around for 40 years. They own every step in the process to make sure you get the best quality product and the best value. Now get 0% interest for 24 months. Call the people I trust to do the job right, Bathfitter, or visit BathfitterNW.com.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning, I'm Heather Bosch. The U.S. Supreme Court makes it easier to sue over so-called reverse discrimination. CBS's Jan Crawford reports the High Court considered the case of an Ohio woman.
She put in for promotion, and she was passed over for that. Then she got demoted. Well, the people that got those jobs were both gay and she's straight. She said that's discrimination. So she sued, and the courts threw out her claim because they said she had to jump through an extra hoop as a straight woman.
Now the Supreme Court has ruled she does not have to meet a higher standard and her case can proceed. The nation's highest court also ruled on a gun case, saying a law that allowed Mexico to sue U.S. gun makers over violence in Mexico is invalid. Legal expert Jessica Levinson explains.
This is not a Second Amendment decision. Of course, it deals with gun manufacturers, but this is really a question of whether or not under this federal law you could have liability for U.S. gun manufacturers.
Newly released journal entries shed light on Luigi Mangioni's plans for allegedly gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. CBS's Lilia Luciano is covering.
Prosecutors allege Mangioni wrote, quote, 1.5 months. The investor conference is a true windfall. It embodies everything wrong with our health system.
Mangioni faces both federal and state murder charges. The search continues for the man accused of murdering his 3 daughters in central Washington. KIRO 7 TV's Gary Horker says we're learning more from Travis Decker's father about his son's mental state.
According to Travis Decker's father, Travis had more recent mental health struggles, which can be traced, he says, directly to an Army tour in Afghanistan. KIRO 7 has not been able to independently confirm these details from his service from the Department of Defense, but we do know from Decker's fellow soldiers he was able to complete Army Ranger selection at JBLM, and he was deployed to parts of Europe with paratrooper skills.
The Washington National Guard says Decker is technically still a member but missed all his drills over the last year. The search is on for a patient who escaped from Western State Hospital. Lakewood Police Sergeant Charles Porsche.
I don't believe from the information I've got that he is a danger to anybody else. His stay at Western has been very peaceful.
Porsche says the man does have a criminal past, including assaults, but again, he's not believed to be a danger to the public. He's been at Western State for about 2 years. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 30 points, NASDAQ down 46. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, a crash is blocking a lane on I-90 westbound near State Route 18. Roadwork is a lane closed on northbound I-5 near Nisqually. You're backed up between the Nisqually Bar and Grill and Cabela's. You've also got construction along JBLM southbound. Travel time Olympia to Tacoma, 46 minutes. That's more than 10 minutes longer than usual. Tacoma to Olympia, 37, several minutes longer there. In Renton, crash is blocking a lane on State Route 167 northbound near 43rd Street. Traffic brought to you by Global Credit Union, where members enjoy no-fee accounts and early payday with direct deposit. Learn more at globalcu.org. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Mostly sunny skies today with highs in the mid-70s. It's 63 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the Gee and Ursula Show. Mike Lewis here. Angela Poe Russell here as well. Angela, you are well equipped. Both of you, you and Chef, are well equipped to answer this question. If you could have screened your eggs for potential health-related effects prior to conception, Andrew and your family, would you have done this if you had the opportunity to do it? I
This
mean, let's
is
say you could
before they're an embryo,
Yes,
just eggs.
just eggs.
Yes.
Probably yes. Like, we have in my family a sex selective disability that my brother had. There's a 50% chance I could have had it too. And I had a huge concern about, having kids and at the same time, I wouldn't give up the experience of having my brother. I think we lose something when we select for perfection.
All right, and let's now move it to at the embryo stage. Would you
gosh,
then?
this is getting. I think screening can be a good thing. So yes, screening, yes.
Okay, this is the story. It's a Wall Street Journal story, terrific Wall Street Journal story about a company called Nucleus that has now developed sufficient technology that it can, your frozen embryos, it can go through and essentially tell you, like in a fairly detailed way, some with greater predictive ability than others, the potential health of the cumulative percentages of various conditions. Once they do a genetic analysis, that will show the longevity of your potential child. It will show, potentially the factors that could lead to higher or lower IQ, a variety of other health factors, including the health factors that we already actually screen out for, as Down syndrome, for example, that we already do right now. I guess the bigger question is not whether this can happen, because this company exists and it's charging for this service. So it clearly is happening, and it certainly is available to people of a certain income level, because my guess is that this is not something that's going to be covered by insurance. So it's going to make itself available to people with access to, $8,000 to $10,000 to be able to do the whole comportment of tests. I'm just curious whether or not you feel like this is a step forward, or a step sideways, or potentially a step back.
I think it's a step forward. I think, listen, many parents, just like Chef beautifully articulated, they would not change the loved one they had in their lives. And to your point, Chef, I couldn't have said it better. This pursuit of perfection, assuming it's all, broken.
Right.
I do, however, don't want to minimize that the toll that caring for a loved one with significant issues can take on families. And if there is a way to, if you're in the process of IVF and you have 6 embryos and you're able to see that this one is the more, one that's likely to be healthier, I think that's a step forward. I do draw a line in the sand, because this company, and there are some other companies, I was just looking at this one, Heliospec Genomics, and they make no bones about it. Like, we can find the one that's going to have a better IQ. And I draw the line at that kind of stuff, like where you're talking about a custom baby, like, oh, let's pick out the hair and this is not an outfit.
Right.
This is not an outfit. And it's not that there's something inherently wrong with it. It's the motivation behind it that we're caught up in, that piece of it. I love it for the health aspects.
I wonder what's left behind, though. When you go, like you said, when you start selecting out so many things. I mean, we know, and I'm not sure that it applies to humans in the way it does, say, other animals, but we all know that people who pursue this specific set of characteristics in purebred animals end up the unintended consequences is you get a less healthy population, because it's nowhere near as varied. And you find that, and anyone who has raised purebred dogs understands this.
I didn't know this. You're teaching me something.
This can be a problem when you're selecting for very, very discrete qualities, and you're not actually allowing for that sort of wide variation that happens in passing along a gene pool. You solve some problems, but you end up creating a whole bunch more. And I'm there with you. I understand, like for the tests that can delineate one particular catastrophic potential outcome, I'm on board. When you start like trying to tease out, because even the most accurate ones can't really do the IQ test. They can look at presumptive things. They can't even really do, even if you're showing the marker for, let's just say, Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. It changes you from like a 2% to like a 4%, right? It is not necessarily anything that is predictive of much.
But that's 100% increase in risk. That is one of the lies that we hear, or I guess the warping of risk that we're taught.
Warping of math, essentially, right?
Like red wine, reduces your risk of heart risk by 35%, which might effectively mean from 13% to 12.5% or whatever it is,
whatever
right?
It is, right, yeah. Yeah, that's entirely true.
It's interesting. This one company, this article came from The Guardian, by the way, and it was this company CEO from Heliospect. He said, everyone can have all the children they want, and they can have children that are basically disease-free, smart, healthy. It's going to be great. Polygenic scoring.
That seems like a bit pie in the sky.
You know what? You know what really bothers me about that actually is I think that our world is enriched by having all different types of people in it. People with disabilities, people who are neurodivergent, those with mental illness included, right?
Yes.
Societies have always had those people in it, and we have been better for it.
Absolutely.
And what this possibility creates is a future in which there is a class of people who never have to deal with that. So what happens when all of those with the wealth and the power who never have to take the chance of having a child with a perceived defect, like how do we fund programs for those kids in need? Like how does funding for something like autism, right? Mm-hmm. John Schneider, Seahawks general manager's son, has autism. What if that class of people never has to participate in what it means to have a human family with differences amongst us? I think that's a very bad thing.
Yeah. I think though, I'm not defending the screening because obviously I already came out against it, but I do think that the main thing is we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know that what they're claiming is, one, valid or true. And two, we really mathematically don't actually understand when we're screening out, for one thing, what the whole comportment of that person is going to be, because we've always made this argument. People love to make the argument of nature versus nurture. And we both know that those are competing and complementary facts, like where you grow up and how you grow up and what you were born with as your initial genetic toolkit. Yes. All of that stuff matters. You can't predict it based on one of those factors alone, except for, again, these very discrete, specific diseases that are highly associated with one particular gene type. Those you can. The rest of it, it's a complete wild card.
It's fascinating.
Really quick, if I could share this, because Brian from Arlington texted and said his daughter had alarming signs as an embryo all the way through pregnancy. If we could have chosen when she was an egg, we wouldn't have chosen her. He said, we were wrong.
Yes.
The doctors were wrong. We was told she'd have a 10% chance of being a functional adult. She's beautiful and healthy and perfect.
There you go.
Wow. So glad. Thanks for sharing that, Brian.
All right, coming up, we turn the show over to you with your text messages right after the break.
You listen to Seattle's morning news every morning. What do Charlie and Manda listen to every afternoon?
I absolutely love listening to John Curley because he makes you think, which I love.
John has a real special talent in being able to talk about the topics we care about, but he's always trying to make it fun. You're going, oh, this guy actually gets it.
The John Curley Show, weekdays 3 to 7. Watch The John Curley Show live on YouTube or the KIRO Newsradio App.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
If you want that summer body you've always dreamed of, then this message is for you, ladies, and you men too. Get rid of extra stubborn fat and address areas of loose skin around the waistline, chin, and under the upper arms with ProSculpt, the new one-day instant permanent fat removal and skin tightening treatment. Maybe you've tried the lasers, fat freezing methods, even those new pills, but without the desired results. ProSculpt is different. It's minimally invasive, performed while fully awake, gentle yet powerful. Designed to target the waistline, chin, neck, arms, and thighs, ProSculpt uses FDA-cleared plasma technology to deliver immediate, permanent fat-reducing and skin-tightening results, all in just one visit. If you want that summer body this summer, then you must act now. Go to ProSculpt.com today to schedule your free consultation. Get $250 off. For instant, permanent fat reduction and skin tightening, visit ProSculpt.com.
Guys, tired all the time? Gaining weight? Low drive? These aren't just signs of aging. They could be low testosterone or other underlying issues. This June, for Men's Health Month, Revive Men's Health in Seattle is offering a free comprehensive wellness panel, a $400 value. It checks your testosterone, blood sugar, cholesterol, kidney, liver, thyroid, and heart health. No guessing, just answers. Over 100,000 men have trusted Revive to get real results. More energy, better sleep, improved mood, and confidence that shows. If something feels off, don't wait. Take control and protect your long-term health by knowing your numbers. This offer ends June 30th. Schedule your free comprehensive wellness panel today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com. Feel better. Live stronger. Start now.
And this week's First Mark Challenge victory goes to Lonnie. Lonnie, why did you call First Mark Insurance?
We've been with the same insurance company for over 32 years. And my husband said, come on, let's at least try it. And that was the smartest thing we ever did because we saved thousands, literally thousands a year on our insurance. They improved it. It cost me less, and it was a higher value. You know, I can't say enough good things about Scott because everything that he said he'd do, he did.
What do you tell your friends they can expect when they make the call to First Mark?
An easy, profitable, and actually pleasant call. They genuinely are trying to help you, and you can't beat that. We were silly to wait so long. A couple other friends that have called, too, they said, why didn't you tell us about this sooner?
You see, Lonnie did it. My family did it. You got to do it, and it's totally free. Go take the First Mark Challenge today. See how much they can save you and how much better your coverage will get. Maybe you will be our next First Mark Challenge victory. Go to firstmarkinsurance.com.
Charlie Harder here. When your hot turns to cold, you better think fast. Fast water heater. Call 1-800-THINK-FAST. That's 1-800-THINK-FAST or fastwaterheater.com.
You better think fast. Fast water heater.
Gain a global perspective and specialized skills that many of today's top employers are seeking with an MBA from University of Maryland Global Campus. Study online and complete your degree in just 16 months for about $21K. Choose from MBA specializations in global business, marketing, HR, finance, and more. Classes start June 11th. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to the Gee and Ursula Show. Now is a time when we turn our show over to you. Angela, would you like to begin?
I sure can. So we've talked about a lot of different subjects at the beginning of the show the latest on the search for the father who killed his 3 daughters and what circumstances surrounded that. 757 Decker is the villain here. As a 24-year-old veteran, the VA definitely has its challenges, but most of this has to fall on Decker.
Ahmad in the 425. Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs saved my life, not the federal VA. I'm a veteran that became a therapist because they saved my life. I'm a suicide survivor. Now when people say thanks for my service, I get angry. Thanks for what? And where are those same folks when we need help?
All right, we were talking about this new debate about whether Seattle Public Schools should allow school resource officers back in. That's being debated. Susie on Hilltop. If the kids feel fear when a cop is inside the building, it just goes to show that sometimes kids don't know what's good for them, and adults need to guide them. We don't need to make everyone uncomfortable. If it's raining, you make your kid wear his coat, whether he wants to or not.
Can a white woman play Harriet Tubman from Kay and Spanaway? LOL. A white Harriet Tubman is like having a black Anne Frank. Terrible idea. The only exception being a Hamilton-like production. Maybe.
Dan is Snohomish. The Hamilton example is on point. A black man played Thomas Jefferson. Isn't that the exact same thing except from the male perspective? Come on.
Robin Everett said, I'm not entirely sure if I am on board with a white woman playing Harriet Tubman because it could have the potential inaccuracy to inform younger people, in my humble opinion. 10 Commandments. If the 10 Commandments originally had a Russian Yul Brynner as Ramses and Moses, this is one of the things I was referencing, played by Charlton Heston. For a while, until I became more educated, I thought Moses was white. We talked about that actually off there. Yes.
Okay, on genetic embryo screening, Brian from Arlington, my daughter had an alarming signs as an embryo. We actually talked about this all the way through pregnancy. If we could have chosen when she was an egg, we wouldn't have chosen her. We would have been so wrong. I want her exactly as she is. When I hear about things like this, I think about my daughter and have a little moment of panic. The doctors were wrong in our case. We were told she'd have a 10% chance of being a functional adult. She's beautiful, healthy, and perfect.
From Isabella, as a mother of a DD kid, here is what I'd like to say. Of course, we love children, and of course we love the children we have, and of course we find joy in them. There's also something about making a decision to have that child with those difficulties and whether or not you can financially and emotionally deal with that child.
There, Andy in Newcastle. If the privileged have the money and have screened out, quote, defects, why would the privileged choose to fund programs that help the, quote, defective ones?
Excellent point. On chivalry, 206. Angela, I think you're right on with the subject about men needing to feel like a protector. I believe it is a natural feeling for a male. I am all for equal pay and equal jobs and all of that, but I find it very appealing when a gentleman holds the door for me. I also hold the door for other people too, but I think it's just a lack of manners or guidance in manners that has become very prevalent in society today. This is just one small step to bring it back.
All right, let's do one more. We talked about the young people in Seattle. The numbers are dwindling. Rob and Puyallup, Enumclaw and Black Diamond are becoming places to move to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really like Black Diamond. Okay, and with that, it is time for Ursula's words to live by. No one is you, and that is your power. But the world becomes richer when we stop to hear the stories that only others can tell. Unknown.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you very much. All right, Nick, what's on your mind?
Well, do some younger guys need extra manners they should know with a chance they didn't get the 411 with tips to show, and especially when going to the gym amongst the crowd where they try to make themselves more heard with grunting extra loud.
No more, Mr. Nice Guy.
And if you eat bananas near them with a knife and fork, I can't promise they'll be holding back on calling you a dork. Not that you would be found doing that or anything, but I wouldn't expect a cordial response from them.
Nick, thank you so much. As always, just bringing it. Yeah, so it was a very good show, Chef. Thank you so much for bringing it all together. What was a highlight for you today?
I don't know. I personally like to agree to disagree a lot. I thought we had some really good conversations in that, nuanced conversations, which you don't hear a lot. So I dug that.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah, it was a good one for me too. I loved hearing. One of my favorite parts is always like the texts that come in and the stories we get to hear from people, because when we speak, we're speaking from our own experiences and the stories that we've heard. But when you weigh in, it's like, hey, we get to hear what your life has been like.
You all are seriously amazing and fascinating individuals with incredible stories. Keep them coming. We love it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. And thank you so much for listening. Jake and Spike are up next. Have a wonderful day.
Hope you have as much fun as we have. So long, everybody.
With me, and I'm getting real shot down, and I
listen to The John Curley Show every afternoon? What does John listen to every morning?
I listen to Charlie and Manda, get my pot of coffee going, then turn on Seattle's Morning News, and I begin to build my show that way. And you want straight news without opinion, just giving it to you with the facts. There's only one place to go, Seattle's Morning News.
The perfect bookends to your daily commute. Seattle's Morning News and The John Curley Show on KIRO Newsradio. Download the KIRO Newsradio app to listen anytime.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KIRO News Radio.
Get on the YouTube channel.
We're live all day on YouTube. Every show, every day.
Hang out with us. The whole gang's there.
And you never know what you might see.
Back up the camera. Oh, my God.
Just search KIRO News Radio, then subscribe.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Pro Paint Days are back at Lowe's, and My Lowe's Pro Rewards members can save even more with limited time deals. Right now, buy one, get one half off select HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams primer and ceiling paint. Plus, get free same-day delivery to your job site when you order by 2 p.m. Offer valid through 6/13, delivery by 8 p.m., subject to driver availability. Additional terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Chris Domine is a husband and a father. Chris is an athlete. Chris is even an Iron Man. But 10 years ago, Chris was facing a very different story because his kidneys were failing.
Basically, the doctor said, if you don't get a kidney transplant and if you don't do dialysis, you are going to die.
Fortunately, Chris received a second chance at life, made possible by an organ donor.